Hello, hello. Good evening and good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from. There's another episode of the Morgan's News. I don't think like Abby. How are you all doing? I hope you had a lovely, rather, I hope you had a lovely weekend. You had a better start this week. Well, idea has been fun. Not too much happened, but just enjoy the nice weather. Enjoy the nice weather. It was calm, work wasn't too stressful. See, so all in all, it was fun. I'm surprised you guys are. I'm sure you guys are surprised seeing me instead of Abby opening the show. Unfortunately, Abby is being held up somewhere, but she will be joining us later. She just couldn't make it on time, so she's going to be joining us later in the show. So, I'm just saying that, yeah, before anyone comes, maybe I'll just talk a little bit about the topic. And the topic today is domestic violence. This is a scourge in the society that keeps wearing its ugly head. You know? It's not something that started today. Something that we've been dealing with. And not just married people. We're talking about married people in civil relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend relationship, whatever, where a man and a woman is together, whatever setting the couple have, it's always been a major issue. I don't know. This time around, why it's trending today is because something tragic happened over the weekend. Very last week, where a very popular gospel musician lost, allegedly lost her life to this domestic violence suspect and all that. And I really said we need to talk about this because it has whipped up a lot of sentiments. So many people are coming to say different things. I saw a couple of people coming to preach the gospel according to the Bible. Once your partner is not doing right by you, divorce. If you're not feeling happy, divorce. Yeah, I understand. I know everybody is feeling a little bit depressed about this, feeling sad. And this is an artist everybody really loved. Was widely loved in the Christian community in Nigeria, maybe Africa at large. So, I understand the sentiment. I get it. I get what's going on. Don't know. This domestic violence, although it's more the male to female one is more prevalent or more popular, where the husband or the boyfriend is physically abusing his significant other. Okay, let me talk about myself. On a personal level, I find this really disgraceful because maybe personally I grew up in a household where my father, it never happened in my house while growing up. Like we didn't experience it. Now, in saying that, I'm not going to lie. I know that even in the neighborhood where I grew up and all around us, yeah, it was very prevalent. I'm talking about the 80s to 90s. Yeah, I understand. It was prevalent, but these days, everybody's speaking of. Oh, that is Hey, how are you, Javi?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Hmm.
You are welcome. You're welcome to this solemn uh, topic today, because it's not the one it's not the happy one today.
Wow,
Today,
Lento.
Yeah, we will have to be serious about the issue because it's a very serious matter. And, okay, let me finish. I'll just allow you to bring
Yeah.
in your own perspective. So, like I was saying, I grew up around. I saw other people going through this, like neighbors, family members, and all that. You know, some of the children, like I keep saying, oh, where's happening? Some of these kids turned out right, but you know what they say. Some children will pick up these bad habits and transfer it to their own marriages and abuse their own spouses because they saw their fathers beating their mom while they were growing up. And this is when we have to tell ourselves the truth at some point. This has to stop. This really, really, really has to stop. And I'll tell you, let me speak to men directly, and I'll tell you for free. It doesn't matter how tiny the woman is or how frail she looks. The day you start placing your hand on her, you start toughening her. And listen, for those of you who haven't done it before, big congratulations to you. May the good Lord continue blessing you for exercising restraint. This is what happens. The more you keep hitting, women are not dogs that you can train. You can't train a woman to. I hope you are
Hi
so
guys,
happy.
you guys are lifesavers. I appreciate you so much. I don't know
Oh
whether
yeah,
my
calm down. I'm still
ah.
talking. Just calm down, calm
In
down.
fact, I don't think
Relax.
I have run as much. With
Abby,
I
relax,
almost.
relax, relax, relax. Don't worry. I got you. I
I'm
got you.
relaxed. I'm relaxed, but man, I ran. Can you see me? I can't see
No,
myself.
you're showing one side, sort of
One
a
side.
full vision.
Okay,
Yeah, we
can
can
you
see
see?
you.
I had to tilt it one kind, one kind.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
Ah,
Yeah. Let
when
me
the
finish.
taxi said 1 hour, I almost had heart attack. Because
Abby,
I had to work early this morning, then early this afternoon, then dash into town because I'm doing a photo shoot on Friday and I don't have anything to wear for the photo shoot. So I had to dash into town, then dash into work. I was supposed to have a training. I missed the training. Everything just went kata blah 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 blah. And I had a test earlier in the day because of the tremors that's going through my hands.
It is
I'm
well with
breathing.
I
you.
was going to, we were going to allow you to do all that when your turn comes. We're still talking and then you tell us about it. So I was
No,
just
no,
trying
no,
to round
guys.
up.
Let me shut up my mouth. Oh, yeah, continue.
So, like I was saying,
Mhm. Mhm.
so, like I was saying,
I'm
Uh-huh.
Organa.
women of spouses are not dogs. You can't train them by beating them. And I can tell you this for free because I'm no more a child. I grew up around people in relationships. The more you hit, the more that thing you're trying to suffer from doing, she'll do more. And the more she develops resistance against your physical abuse. That's for those who will decide to stay and experience it. No, a lot of modern women will not tolerate. Not modern women in that sense. I mean, women who are enlightened now will not take that rubbish from anybody. Now, I had a friend many years ago, when he was getting married to this woman, that woman was like pencil high. When I said she was frail, and I used to wonder that my friend is bulky. That if he bullies this girl now, how will he kill her and everything? Guess what? I hadn't seen them for 7 years. The next time I was going to see the woman was looking very muscular, battle ready. So I had to go over at their place. I stayed over at their place. I don't even know what caused the fight. Look at serious fights. They fought into the living room. I was there, like, I had to separate. I received
Like
notice.
Oscar de la Hoya and Kini.
Oh, God. The
Did
point is, I
they
received
punch you?
the punch. You know, punch me. Now, when I felt the punch, I said, no, this one is no more normal punch now. This is accumulated energy.
You felt as if thunder slapped you.
After grabbing my friend and pinning him down and calming everybody down, why is there too much violence in this house? So I started listening to them. Apparently, like I assumed, when they got married, my friend was always bullying her, hitting her, abusing her. Over time, she started developing resistance. Till she too, she started developing muscle.
No.
Then now, if he throws one slap, she will return to Papa. So, and I said, I called my friend. I said, you see, at the end of the day, you and the man, you are going to still get free of before her. She's a woman. You married her very young. So are you going to tell me now that if she starts beating you, she'll come and beat you? No, you started it. So I always try to understand that you can't train a human being as an adult. This is why from beginning, anything you do not want, run away. Run away. If you are dating, you notice that the guy is too controlling. He doesn't want you to breathe. He doesn't want you to move. You are an adult, for goodness sake. You have the right to say, sorry, I cannot cope with you, and move on. You don't have to marry anybody by force. Like, you don't have to. You have a choice. It's okay. I don't want, and that's why for marriage, I'm next. That's why I said for marriage, even if your family is forcing you, turn down that particular offer. Tell them that you're open to another arrangement. Turn down that one that no, this and this and this is what I observe.
Vaughn, are you being practical or you're just talking? Because I need to. Because this topic. Let me say something before. Let me say something.
Can I just have question to ask? Then you two people can answer it. I just have a question. So my question is, you're saying, the person will show who they are. You will see traces. But there are some people, I've met couples that, even me, when they were dating, I was like, I chop love. Oh. And then down the line, I'm hearing goes, and I'm going, how? Why? I didn't see any
violence. How did they get there?
Who is the outsider? I know see. Talk less of a person where they inside. Then some people, throughout when they've married for years, no exhibition of violence. Then something happens, like maybe somebody loses a job, somebody falls ill, and next thing violence comes out. How do you deal with that then? So those are my questions.
Okay, I was getting to others before I started.
Yeah, I was going to. I want you to answer that question, but before then, I know when we're talking, sometimes we try to be very how will I put it now? We try to say things in a way that is a bit generalistic, but this particular topic is not a general topic. So we have to be very specific in what we are saying. It's really hot, and I'm sure you already know this. So I'm going to plead with you before we start this program that it's going to be hot in here today. So be very, how will I put it now? Very straightforward with what you are saying. Don't be. It's not a lecture day. It's a day that you say yes or no. So answer Abby's question.
When I'm done, I'll allow you people to carry on. I just want to state what I want to state.
Okay. Okay.
So, like I said, if you find yourself scenario one, if you find yourself in a scenario where your family is forcing you to marry, I'm not talking about ladies now. You find yourself in a scenario where your family or your church or wherever it is that you think has influence over you is forcing you to go and marry somebody, and you eventually cut or date the person. Now I'm talking from beginning problem, and you sense any problem, please, nobody can change any human being once they are in a relationship. I need everybody to understand this. Nobody can change anybody. So, if the person slaps you, if a man slaps you while you are cutting, there's every tendency that he's going to punch you while you are married. So please, I wouldn't advise you to go on. And that's for somebody who's beginning. Now, if you found yourself in a situation where he wasn't like that, and you get into marriage, and it turns out to be a beast or a boxer overnight, again, please. And in fact, let me even be specific to Christians. Divorce this, divorce that. Okay, fine. Here's the thing. The scripture clearly allows you to separate. I've said it to a lot of people. And this is why I get mad when I see people dying in silence, and their pastors know about these things, and they say absolutely nothing about this. They just keep quiet and start saying prayer. Prayer has levels to how it functions. You don't just pray over something that physical that's going on. The person might not be alive to open her mouth and pray. Right? And this is where we find ourselves. Once the guy is already panic-beating, whether he's drunk, whether he's under the influence of alcohol, or maybe he's possessed by evil spirit, according to Mr. H, please bounce first. Before we start analyzing what caused him to slap you, let's leave the house first for safety, Then lastly, for those who do it out of any form of righteousness, it is not worth it. I will never, ever, 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 never advise anybody. And now I've just spoken on behalf of women. Now, on behalf of women, on behalf of men too, please, if you're a woman and you have a drunkard at home, and I say this from experience, I've seen this many times. When the guy is sober, he looks normal. When he's drunk, he commits all sorts of atrocities and evil. Now, there's a school of thought that says that thing he does when he's intoxicated is what he already has in his mind.
That's the truth, yes.
He's not old enough to do it. Now, if you know as a woman or a spouse that is the situation, and you are among those that don't feel that you have to separate, I have an advice for you. If he comes back home 2 a.m., 3 a.m., he's drunk and smelling, inebriated, that is not the good time to start throwing insults and arguing. Just avoid him. Avoid him for that moment. Find a better time to discuss, because nobody will be there at 2, 3 a.m. when he's beating you. A punch can kill somebody. It's just one punch. The wrong place, you punch, that is it. It's over. You are gone. And he's going to find, he's the one alive, you're already gone. He's going to be the one telling nice stories to cover up his evil acts. So please, when you see somebody inebriated, whether he's drunk, whether it's on weed, whether it's on drugs, you know that he's not in control at that point. Just avoid him. Do not engage him at that point. Just wait. You can start your prayers in the morning where everybody is sober. Don't do it when there's nobody. Please, I beg you, in the name of God, because all these ones, they say, no, I have rights to talk. Yes, you have right to talk. But wisdom is key here. Apply wisdom when you have to exercise. Wisdom is profitable here. When you need to exercise your rights, know when to exercise it. Don't be foolish. I cannot go and meet an armed robber and be telling that stealing is a crime. So for that reason, you are not allowed to rob me. It's going to
and he's holding a gun.
And he's holding a gun. I can't do that. So please, if you are temperamental, everybody with sorry, just let me add before I go. Verbal abuse is an abuse. So just for those of you who don't know, it's a very, very serious. There are men who have committed suicide from verbal abuse. So all forms of destructive abuses, let's try and refrain from them. It's not worth it. It's destructive, because at the end of the day, you are destroying yourself, you're destroying your family, and your destruction is going to filter into the general society. And that's why we have a messed up society today. Because people who are supposed to be responsible in the family unit are not responsible. So I think I'll leave it there. I know the women have a lot of things to say. I'll allow Abby first to express herself. Finally, you have the floor,
Abby.
Okay.
Abby, do you want to say something? Go on.
No, I'm actually forwarding something to Ron. I'm forwarding something to Ron. Yeah. No, Abby, you say what you want to say, then I'll speak. But I just forwarded something to you, Ron. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is a very interesting topic. And I'm glad that Ron mentioned the fact that abuse is not only verbal. Abuse can be, physical, and it could be verbal. It could be, how will I put it now, psychological. It could be emotional. It could be harassment. It could be stalking.
Abby, may I read out because what I sent to Ron was actually
Let's finish now. Let
her talk. Let her talk.
Because I can just read it out here. So it says 9 types of violence and abuse. Physical violence. This occurs when someone uses a part of their body or object to control another person's actions. Sexual violence. That occurs when the person is forced to unwittingly take part in sexual activity. Emotional violence occurs when someone says or does something to make a person feel stupid or worthless. Psychological violence, that occurs when someone uses threats and causes fear in an individual to gain control. Spiritual violence, that occurs when, or religious violence, when someone uses an individual's spiritual belief to manipulate, dominate, or control that person. Cultural violence, that occurs when an individual is harmed as a result of practices that are part of his or her culture, religion, or tradition. Verbal abuse, that occurs when someone uses language, either spoken or written, to cause harm to an individual. Financial abuse occurs when someone controls an individual's financial resources without the person's consent or misuses those resources. And neglect, that occurs when someone has the responsibility to provide care or assistance for an individual but does not. So just going with what you're to say there.
So it is interesting because I was searching all along today and prior to today that what is the law in Nigeria against domestic violence. Now, to my shock or shock mentalization, there's probably nada.
Yeah.
Because they have something called violence against person, people, and that's more or less like rape and whatever that is. Now, and I'm wondering that in a country as such of, Nigeria, that even there was this story that I read is about a particular traditional king in Akure. This happened in 2010. So the man physically and bodily assaulted one of his wives, and this resulted in the wife's death. Interestingly, the case was dismissed in 2012. I was just so I think we're kind of oblivious to this, and I don't even know where to start. But it is something that is making me feel so like, okay, what is the protection for the people who are involved? And I know that people say, just like Ron said, when you see this person run away, when you see a pastor, you'll be like, oh, this is a pastor. I've always been a Christian from when I was a teenager. And one of the reasons why I didn't marry in church was because a lot of the brothers, they'll just say, God bless you. They'll be saying, come to my house. They'll be doing all sorts. When you're passing through their houses, you'll be seeing different girls going to their houses and all of that. And even one that I invited to my house one day was still trying to make passes at me. And I was just thinking that, so what's the essence of all this brother? I was not keen to date the brother in the church because most of them, they're mad. So I don't know. So if you're saying this person, or maybe they will show body, they will show face, they will show, you can't. Sometimes some people are so evil that they can manage to behavior successfully, that they have the good parts of them, that when people see them, they are angels. They are angels when people see them, and I don't know how these people keep up with this kind of behavior. Because for me, aside from the fact that when you see me in real life, I'm not I don't want to talk to everybody. I'm not that kind of a person. But at the end of the day, my realest part is what you see is what you get. If you bring it hot, I put it back. If you bring it cold, it's cold. I don't have time to be. And this has been me since when I was younger. So I don't know how to do it any differently, but I know that people are different. So I've been hearing everybody saying, okay, if it's not working, go out. Oh, you report the man or something. Oh, you have to pack your bag to where?
Thank you.
There are three male in this case, and I know maybe we are not using this particular woman's case. I'm just saying the one that is happening in Nigeria at the moment. This woman has 3 children, and they're all boys. And according to the discussion or everything that we've had here before, according to you, Ron, you said that women, they break the family unit because of, sometimes lack of patience. The family unit needs to be together. We complain about the fact that in those days, those
But
parents, they are not going.
sorry, before I made the statement, that day I even spoke about that.
Sorry?
I spoke about even when I
No,
said it that day, I still spoke about domestic violence.
I know.
I said,
Because what, no, wait, Ron. When we were talking then, the things I'm referring to is that we were saying that some family, because their wives are not complaining, it doesn't mean that the men are in the house to look after the children. And so as such, those children become something else in the future. You said they are successful, but we are saying they are successful, but they are damaged. You understand what I mean? They are damaged. So I'm just trying to coincide whatever you've said before to say that this woman now, based on your advice earlier, you said, oh, if you see that and somebody's beating you, you run away. Where should she go with 3 children? That's one. Number two, the society already made it look like anybody or any child that was raised outside of their family unit, they can never make it in life. And so this woman that has all the religious garments on her, the religious notion and everything, we are going to tell her that, oh, your husband is beating you, pack out. Pack out to where? Who is going to take her? The society, the people, the boys that we have already said, if they are not living with their parents, if they're not together, something is going to happen to them. They're not with their father. What happens to them? Because that's what the society painted, and it's working fine according to the painting of the society. So for me, I have more questions than answer. If somebody can help me, I'm talking to our audience as well. If you've joined us today, please do help me. I just need answers. I've told you about the Oba in Akure, what happened. I've checked also, there's a particular code in Nigeria. It's called Section 55. Section 55, then 1, okay, Section 1, Section 55, Section 1, and it says that the beating for wife for correction purpose is legal. Go and check Wikipedia, and I stand to be corrected. That's what I read there.
It's true.
Where do we go from here? Because talk is very cheap. For me, in my head, I'm thinking, what can we do as a society? This is, and I know the people are coming up with the men to get abused or the Me Too movement. I don't give 2 fucks about it. All I'm saying is that if you're getting abused, what is the way forward? Somebody came to me, and I'm not going to disclose anything, but somebody came to me in the course of all this. She's got 5 children, and she's going through psychological and emotional abuse. And then she asked me, where do I go from here? I said, how old is your eldest? I told you, Ron. The eldest is 13, and the youngest is 2. I'm crying whilst I'm telling her, I'm sorry, you need to chill a little bit more. But what is the way out? What should I say to that person? Run away from a man that is stickingly rich, that will fish her out or throw the children away and will not let her have access to those children again. What is there for any person or anybody that leaves their family? Who is protecting who? Those are my questions today. I don't know.
Okay, let me come in here. First of all, Agnes Ajay, good evening to you. And then Chukwuemeka, this is an above 18 show, so yes, we do use the word fuck, a lot.
Like,
so if it's offensive to you, then I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. It's 18 plus. Some people swear on the show and some people don't, but we are not going to curtail anyone for swearing. So
sorry.
Now going to the issue. Now me and Ron, as usual, we had a bit of an argument. Not argument, but like a discussion, but it was starting to become that kind of thing.
Abby, before you go forward,
yes?
It is a private discussion. Let it remain how it was.
It was a discussion. It was a discussion, not an argument.
Okay.
It was a discussion. That's why I said, but me,
they said it was private. They said it was private. So let it be private. Continue your conversation.
That one, I wasn't going to say what it was. I would just say that we were having a discussion. I'm not stupid. Okay.
No, it's just what he said. I was just echoing.
Anyways, so we were having a bit of discussion, right? And this is the thing that this is part of what I was thinking about. Now, going back to because there's domestic violence everywhere, but at least in the UK where you and I, Abby, we live, there are so many agencies, so many ways of getting out of domestic violence, verbal abuse, whatever. In fact, like if you say something to upset anybody now, you can just see yourself facing panel. You know, that's how it is in this country, although people still get abused and all of that.
Yeah.
But in a country like Nigeria, where it is legal to beat your wife as if she's your child,
no, they say it's for correction,
as if she's your goat. For correction, a grown woman who agree, and that is part of the reason why you see the legal age for marriage needs to change, because when it is legal for a 12-year-old to get married, they'll tell you that she's still a child, but she's old enough to be married, but she's still a child, so she needs correction. And then you take the status of every woman and put it under that 12-year-old and say, we need correction. Because most of us will be adults or are adults when we actually agree. It's not as if the man walked into our father's house, grabbed us by our hair and said, yeah, my wife today. And we are like, okay. And just follow the guy. The guy will come. He will say, you know, you have been kiriko in my life. One thing. Please, can you be my wife? And she will say, yes. Abi? So she used her own mouth to agree. The man used his mouth to negotiate. And then all of a sudden, as soon as she gets that ring on her finger, she's no longer an adult anymore. She's no longer a human being. She's not a goat to be corrected. So then, where already the status of, and that is what we're talking about when we're saying equality and there's only a head and a neck, we don't have two kings in the house and one thing. Please. In fact, a pastor drew my mind back to it. The Bible actually says, submit one to another.
Yes,
not that wife submit to your. It submit one to another because men conveniently forget that submit one to another.
No, Abby. It said the Bible says. Abby, sorry, let me jump in there. The Bible says, in I can't remember where now. I think it's Ephesians, but it says that first. The first verse there says that the husband and wife should submit to one another. It was when that's the first one, in that passage. So it said, both of you first submit to one another. After that one, the wife cannot submit to husband. But there's a reason why you have to first of all submit to one another. So, but our Nigerian men,
I don't even want to go into the theology of it. My own is written.
No, wait. People are listening. Let's clarify that. That first submission to one another is talking about loyalty to one another.
Okay, but the other one, you can interpret it as higher and lower.
So that you don't become confused. So that we don't confuse.
I'm not confused though.
No, it's written in the same English that you read it, that we read it now.
But now it's looking as if it's the same chapter, but it's saying two different things. It's not saying two different things. You must submit loyal to one another. That means
okay, but the second one now mean respect, even though they spell it the same way. I just wanted to know.
There are more places talking about submission and respect for wife than what you just read. I can show you other places where it was repeated. So I don't know.
No, what I'm saying is,
but that chapter is that chapter that men quote on it. Why submit to your? But
exactly.
No. There are like 15
is that
other
chapter?
Places.
I'm not saying that there are not 15 other places. I'm saying that most men cling to that chapter with their muzzle.
Even the ones that don't know church, they will still quote it.
And even the ones that don't know the front cover to the back cover of a Bible, they'll be like, I submit. So okay, let's go back to seriousness. So the church hammers on, what God has joined together, let no thunder come inside, wanting. God hates divorce as if God loves death and murder and suicide, that kind of thing. But okay, God hates divorce. Then when you are doing your traditional marriage, your parents tell you, you are going, there's no room for you in this house. In fact, in some families, as you are carrying your load out, they're telling a sibling to move into your room so that there's no space for you here. Then your in-laws are like, so the society is saying that if you are a single woman, you don't deserve respect. If you're a woman who moves out of your husband's house, you don't deserve respect. You don't. And then there's nothing put in place. I mean, now there are a few organizations coming up. I think there are 3 in the south and 1 in the north and 1 in the east. So altogether 5 centers for the whole of Nigeria. If I am wrong, please correct me if I am wrong. But the thing is, so there are about 5 centers or maybe slightly more for the whole of about 150 million women in the country to go and seek help if ever they need it. You go to the police station and go and report that your husband beats you. The first thing the police will be like, you look like stubborn woman. Why is your husband beating you? You must be doing something bad. Same thing that they do with people who get raped. What were you doing in his house? What were
clothes are you wearing?
Same thing they do with women who are being abused. They'll tell you, what did you do? Did you give him his food? What did you say? All that kind of stuff. Social media will condemn you. They will tell you that your children, if you move them out of the house, will be broken, will be destroyed. They will never amount to anything in life. They will tell you that children that are brought up by single mothers, there's something missing. As if sitting down in a house where their father is pummeling their mom, everything is complete. So when you have all these different things, people tell a woman move out. The man has made sure that she doesn't have money. She might go into that marriage working, and he will do as if everything is okay. He will just go to her office and go and do one casala there that they will now sack her, or he will beat her, lock her up. More stories are coming out about this musician, about how she will be locked up in the house when she's supposed to go for a ministry, and she will have to scramble to find the money because he's taking the money and he spent it. So she will have to scramble to find the money to pay the people back who paid her to come and minister. There are many other women like that I've heard of, that I know, whose husbands will lock them up in the morning when they're supposed to go to work, just so that they will be fired, and then frustrate every effort to either have a business, to be able to go out to work, just because they want that woman to be totally and completely dependent on them so that they can steer the angle of their lives. And those women, even when they're struggling to go and Dr. Pamela Udoka was talking about a man that came to do some work for her, and she was like, oh, where do I pay? Say, oh, my wife's bank account. And she was even thinking that, sorry, I don't know what you're showing me.
There's a law for it. Have you searched against it? So I wanted to put.
Oh, okay. Anyways, so we'll go back to that. Let me finish it. We will go back to that. Let me finish this. And she was even like hyping the guy that you pay into your wife's bank account, only to discover that the man held his wife's bank account, bank card, held her phone. So she was like, so you are the one controlling her account. You are the one holding her phone to make sure that, any alerts, whatever, and any messages. Okay, God forbid something happens at home. She's trying to reach you, or you need to reach her. You are focused on, I want this control. I'm in control. I'm holding. Why would you be holding the bank card of another person, unless they give it to you briefly to use? How can a grown person who is in the respectable place of marriage not be able to walk into a shop and buy sanitary towels for themselves?
They're married
I have heard
now.
of men who will actually ask their wife to give them lists. It just imagine the stupidity, because it is nothing than utter fuckery of the mind, that a grown man who has a wife in his house, but he's so jealous and bothered and like fixated on keeping her under, he will collect lists and start walking from shop to shop. So, but he will not say, the always you want, is it the blue one or the red one? Okay, you want tampons, which one? Is it super soak or whatever? He's everything about her life. You want Maggie, is it the 100 pack or the 50 pack? Come on now.
And he's
And
dead now.
you know, but the thing is that women, this is what I would say. Ladies, let's start from ladies before going. Ladies, when you are with a guy, I have actually chalked out a person from my house because the person went, bah, on me, like smacked my arm, and it was heavy smack. I know me, I'm already tender bodied anyway. I was like, why are you hitting me? I already told you that. I said, I was just joking with you. I beg. Alele, get out of my house. Person thought I was joking. I was like, no, because I'm sorry. You knew that was tender body. And then you still hit me. And you didn't hit me small hit. You hit me baga. As if you are hitting a fellow man like
Oh,
yourself.
well,
Get out of my house. Because I'm not going to tolerate that. Get out. And that is the thing you need to do. Once someone in the name of play starts to smack you around, stand up for yourself. Don't let anybody pressure you into going into a union where they are not going to stay there with you. Your parents will pressure you. Are they going to live with you? Your friends pressure you. Are they going to live with you? Don't let anybody pressure you into a situation that they're not going to live with you. Love yourself first. Love yourself enough to say, you know what? No, I'm not accepting this. And this thing about women with, and women, forgive me, because I'm going to offend you. And I've said, me, I'm an equal opportunity offender. You are living with a man. You don't have a job. You don't have a business. Every year he will gather for you. Bele. You will have one. He will gather for you the next year. Bele. Another one. Isn't that time the few occasions you get to get out of the house? Go to the nearest family planning. Sort yourself out. So that this man will not use children to tie you down. Because I know, this is someone I know. Her husband realized that, this woman, she's super brilliant. Like brain and chap. You know, those kind of people that they see 55 miles ahead of everybody. See that this woman is super brilliant, super connected. Everything, she knows people. Celebrity wedding, got married. She was like, oh, okay, she wants to do this. She's still talking the talk. The man, Naka one, first belle. Now, 4 kids after, I think she's managed, after a few people have spoken, to now have a shop. Imagine all of that's brilliance condensed and pushed into a tiny space of owning a shop. And I'm not saying that anybody who owns a shop but this is a woman who's capable of more. Some people, what they are good at is owning shops. They will start from one shop and start 55.
That's what you just said. You tend to forget or ignore the fact that people also have choices. It might have just been a choice.
No, but that's not her choice. I know for a fact that was not her choice.
It wasn't her choice.
That was not her choice. She wanted to do things in, chemical engineering and all of that stuff. That's what she wanted to do. There was nothing like a shop in her timeline. But she got squeezed into that.
I think, Abby, I think people forget the word manipulation. Manipulation does not need somebody to put a gun into your head. It's a subjective way of telling you to do what you don't want to do. And automatically, because obviously women are supposed to subject, most women are supposed to, if the man is rich, I'm sorry.
You're not seeing men,
because it depends on what... It depends on what the man. It depends on what the man wants for the woman. Like I said, the story that I have at the moment, the man is rich. The woman confirms it. Now, none of the family of the woman is listening to the woman. The woman is going through a lot. The man is not verbally, or how will I put it now? He's not physically beating but all he's doing is to damage this lady emotionally, day in, day out. Unfortunately for her, She has 5 children. I have to be very realistic with that. Are you ready to lose these children? Are you ready? If you're not ready to lose these children and your husband is a rich man, please tell us, what can she do?
Because you see that rich that was there at the beginning that was like, oh, he's tall, dark, and handsome, and rich.
Exactly.
Oh, girl, yeah. Now that rich now become problem.
Because if it was exactly, if it was not somebody, that is okay, then we can say, okay, let's find a way. But we are talking of 5 children. We are talking of 5 children. Where do you start from? And I'm one of those people that like something like when you plan something, we have to see the beginning to the end. It's not about planning something halfway. I say, we are sorry, madam, we can't continue. No, I'm sorry, I don't want to swear, but it's mind blowing. My head was going gaga. I was almost crying for her. And it's mental. It's barbaric. Do you
see,
let
that's
anyone
what I'm
push
saying.
you into that?
I'm saying it, women, and I know they'll be like, why did it? Look, the number of this is the way you should look at your life. The number of children that, God forbid, everything collapses, that you can cater for is what you should have. And this is where you see, that's why this whole my body, not your body, not your own, it is dicey. Because
sorry, what environment are you talking about? Let's be specific because you're generalizing.
No, I'm talking about women. If you find yourself in a situation
in any kind of environment,
but let's even say primarily more for someone who finds themselves in a situation that is like, okay, it looks like maybe I have carried the wrong step. But in any situation, once a woman, because God forbid, anything can happen.
Any environment.
So when you look at yourself and go, how many children can I cater for? If God forbid something happens, how many children can I easily say, you know what, if the whole world turns against me, at least I'll be able to carry these children and be able to take care of them, right? So if it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4, at least you made that decision. Not that the man will come, and you two, you're pumping them out. You're pumping them out because when my husband says he's always wanted a large family and everything, then things will not fall apart. You will not be looking.
There's a reason why I asked for environment.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Let's be careful with the topic because I'm getting messages and it's appearing that people are
Mr. H, please tell baby girl to be small. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's the thing. Let's mind the environment in the sense that, for instance, in Nigeria, when that kind of breakup happens, the children are usually with the guy, not all the time. The children end with the woman. The men usually don't release the kids.
We're struggling to hear you, Ron. You're going in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but going in and out, in and out.
Okay. Now, in Nigeria, if you're talking about Africa, in most cases, the man always gets the kids and sends the woman out. So let's not ignore that it happens. So it's not in all cases that the woman will tell the woman to
Ron, why am I having a feeling that the way you are saying it is very like the man sends the woman out? You're not saying it with with regret. You're saying it like it's something of a pride.
Let's leave him with whichever way he wants to say it. Let him say it whichever way.
I can't be structured to tune to what you want to hear. How to say, let's balance this thing out.
Let him say whichever way.
I'm saying, when you people were making your assumptions, you were all shouting that, oh, the woman must have a certain baby, or she can take. I'm not telling you that it's not the case in the Nigerian scenario. In the Nigerian scenario, it's usually the guy, and again, I didn't take side, I'm just stating obvious. It's usually the guy that kicks the woman out and keeps the children. It is when we live into saner climes that women keep children. So let's balance it out. That's all I'm saying.
I in a way, I sort of agree with you. But one thing I've come to realize with Nigeria, one thing I've come to notice, now I may be wrong, but one thing I've come to notice is once the children are more than 2, the man rarely keeps the kids. Once the children enter 5, 6, 7, he will. Shebi, you want to leave me, Abi? You want to now grow? Carry all of them. Let me see how you cope.
I think we are mixing
Once
this
more than
scenario.
Yeah,
I think we're mixing this
ever keep
scenario.
those children.
Can I just jump in?
Jump in.
Yes.
Let me quote the law. Let me quote the law quickly before I forget.
Okay.
Abby, that's sorry, Abby, you said that in northern Nigeria you can be blah 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 blah. It's not a Nigerian law. It's within the northern region. I think it has to do with the region.
But Sharia law applies to them there. So
I'm trying to let's separate it so that the general viewers don't think it happens across. It's called the section 55, section 55, subsection 1D of the Penal Code, Northern Nigeria. No, that's for that one.
No, they talk about children marriage.
That's for the one. Now, the one for the general country, the minister herself said that that there's domestic violence law under the VAPP Act.
VAPP, yeah. 2015.
Yeah. And that is the law that they're going to use to prosecute the husband of this person we're talking about.
Okay, but what is the legal age? Wait. What is the legal age of marriage in the whole of Nigeria? From what age can a girl get married?
Well, they not have their age. The general country have their own age. General country has 18.
The North has 12 years old. The general country has what?
18. 17, 18.
What is it country?
Sorry?
What is the age of the general country?
17, 18-ish.
Can you not just, you've been looking up everything. Why can't you just clarify?
Check that, exactly.
You've been looking up everything. Look this one up.
The Constitution says when the person is an adult, right? And for the general country, adult is deemed to be 18 years old. That's why I said 18, 17 years.
No, there has to be a specification of age. Okay, let me look at it since it's not looking. Candy, please go ahead and say.
I've never seen a court or church marry below. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Candy, did you want?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in because I'm not really sure the point Ron was trying to make when he said, "Oh, well, in Nigeria, the man usually keeps the kids," but it's not like I'm not really sure what the purpose of that clarification is, because this is the issue.
The purpose of the clarification is that
let her finish with the question first.
Ron, let her finish.
Let me clear before she builds upon it. The purpose of the clarification is when we're having a subject, we have to make it balanced, right? And part of the balancing is that we need to understand that women should go through the emotion of not having to see their kids when they get kicked out of the home. So that's why I'm pointing out that there's an extra layer of emotional torture there. That's why I mentioned this. So we should not neglect that part. That she can be kicked out and she'll still not see her kids. That's the point.
But isn't that what Abby was trying to say before?
Because what I was
and suffer. That's what I'm trying to clear. I said it's not all cases that the man will even allow you to keep the kid and suffer.
But that is what we're trying to talk to. That's what.
But that's what I'm saying.
I think that's what Abby was trying to say. That's the point. She's trying to prove that there are all these factors that make it very difficult for a woman to leave these situations they're in. Because if they try, let's say they even try to, they're going to be kicked out and not have access to their kids. And especially, and then add the layer.
The man is rich.
Exactly.
It happens especially with rich people. They don't allow their kids go.
But poor people, because they themselves cannot, so they'll be like, follow your mother. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, whether rich or poor, as a woman, borrow yourself sense. Think about it. If Kasala busts right now, how many kids can I take care of? There's someone I know, she's not a friend, but there's someone I know. Once she had the 2 kids that she wanted, she quietly told the doctor when they were taking out the second one, she had them by cesarean. I beg, tie my tubes. I'm not interested. The husband will come every time. Hey, click. Wait, yeah, anointing, prayer. Because she knew that if anything should happen, those two are the two that at least she can fight her way, get the best lawyers, get anything, and be able to fight for her kids.
Candy was trying to talk.
Abby, we are crossing into dangerous territory.
Why are we crossing into dangerous?
Please, guys. Candy was still talking. Candy was still talking.
Well,
Candy, no vex, please.
No, I'm fine. I'm just no. I mean, I guess I've said what I want to say. It's just I was just really confused because, like, from what I got from what Habi was saying here is like there are all these barriers, so many barriers that in Nigeria, at least, women have to, that women have to try to cross to in order to get out of these situations they're in, and that's why many women aren't getting out of these situations they're in. So like I think that's what Ron was saying. Like I said, it's an added barrier that women. So I'm not sure what the balancing is that he's trying to talk about. Like,
no, I'm just trying to say that whether she carries the kids, problem. You don't carry the kid, problem. So I'm trying to say that there's a multi-layer issue in stepping out. That's what I was going to happen.
No, when they don't carry the kids, it depends on what kind of person that person is, because at the end of the day now, if this woman left these children, the woman that died, if she left her children there and went away, she's not going to lose. The children are still going to be alive and she's going to be alive. This is what we are saying, that at the point, if you can live with it, you have to practicalize it. Like, if I die tomorrow, what happens? I've lost my parents, and I've lost my mom. When my mom died, I didn't die with her. She's died now. None of my siblings died with her. So if she's saying that I don't want to do this thing because of my children, she just want to die. That's what it means.
Yeah, but
at the end of the day,
I'll be sorry to interrupt. I think it's not. Yeah. I don't think it's that black and white either, because
it's not easy.
I feel like also knowing that so most men who are abusive from working with women in shelters and whatever at some point they transfer that aggression to their children.
Yes,
of course.
Do transfer that aggression, because I feel like that's one thing that might keep me trying to protect my children, not wanting that aggression transferred to them. So I think we have to think of it as this is a very layered, multifaceted. I used to think it was all black and white, but it's not black and white a lot. There's so many layers, so many barriers,
that's why some people stay and plot. They can plot for 2 years on how they're going to get their kids away. Like they're studying everything, they are scrolling money away, they are reaching out to people, because again, it's a matter of who can you trust. Because you'll be amazed that you reach out to some people that you think that they're educated, they'll help you see sense and everything, and you go to them for help. They'll be the ones who go to the man and say, your wife came and said blah 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 blah. So it's also that whole thing of how do you figure it out? How do you figure it out? Who can you trust? Who can you reach out to? And sometimes it takes years. It's not something that because you have to think about, when does it allow the kids to go? Some people will have to wait and kidnap their children on the way to school. Some people will have to all kinds of stuff. And just so that, because if I leave this man, I cannot leave these children with him.
Right.
With
I have
him,
to take my kids with me.
Because
planning everything.
And it's a mental.
Take it out on the kids.
It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. Like the case I told you, I can't see. I know there's some motivational speakers that will say, "Oh no, just leave, just do this, just do that," and I'm saying you can't leave. And I'm sorry, you can't just leave unless you're ready to forfeit everything. And I'm talking of the children. I'm not talking of money or whatever. I'm talking of the children. Okay, so if you're not ready to do all of those things. Always think. I think the problem that we have as Africans, let me tell you, is that we don't preempt problem. We always think that our life is going to be rosy. We wake up and everything's going to be fine. It's not my portion. But do you know what? Both evil and good is part of life. Exactly. And I was saying it to somebody. I said, there's no point in you praying for you not to have trials. There's no point. You're wasting your time. Because
that's why when you the average African do a will, they will look at you like, are you wishing me dead?
You can't keep. You can't keep. It's the reality of life. Because if we have already planned it, that something could happen. Someone said to me many years ago when I said, how come your parents have like 5 or 7 children? They said they didn't know before they were rich, and later they were not. I said, if they have thought about it, they will know that something could happen to their money. They don't. They are not living in. They are not living in organized. They know anything could happen to anybody. You could lose your parents. Anything could happen. Stop having children. Too many children. And that, because that automatically stops you from being able to think. So this person now, I said to this person, the age of this, one's a teenager, the other one's like 2 years, and I'm like, I feel your pain. And I know if they go to another motivational speaker, they could say to that person, you know what, we can do this. I said, but I have already calculated this thing from the start to the end, and I'm saying, no, you can't leave. Is it fitting you? No. He's talking, just be breathing in. But I know that that's the worst advice you can give to anybody.
Some organization that can step in and be like, okay, we will hide you away and we will provide money for you and we will do this. But if you don't have those things in place, and you don't
oh, thank you. Say, go breathing.
I can't even see anybody. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Did you hear the song I sang for you just now?
Yes, I thought you were singing, but I can barely see these days. I didn't even know.
No, I was singing it for you in your body.
No. Abby, you did well on our last show. I listened this morning. I called Ron about 10 times to abuse him and all his ancestors.
Thank you so much. I love you.
You did well, Abby. You held it down. Well done. Well done.
I was like, I don't go agree.
Oh my God, the misogyny on our show, though.
It was extra special.
Don't even go there.
In fact, I wish he showed up today because I wanted to take him back on his. I wanted to take him up on his word. When he was saying,
"Please bring him back."
Wait, bring him back. When he was saying serious violence.
Wait, save it for next week.
Serious violence.
No, I'm not saving it. I want to say serious.
He's not wait.
Violence.
He's not here.
Wait, I can say that when he said that a woman, Ron, you cannot control what I'm going to talk about. Leave me alone. I said you cannot control me.
So,
Abby, that's not fair. He's not here to defend himself. When he's here,
but we can still discuss it.
No,
and I just want to even say the statement I made. When you're done, I will still go talk about it. When you're done,
he's not here. You can't talk over people. It's not fair.
I have heard he's not here.
People.
What is the other argument? He's not here, but so what I was saying is that serious domestic violence serious. A kick.
What's happening? Okay.
We're losing.
Okay, I'm gonna go do this in the basement. Come get me when you're ready to go.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, I don't know what's happened to the internet. The internet went. Can you also okay, can we?
You're going back and forth. I don't know what happened to the internet.
Domestic violence serious.
All right.
Because the funny thing is, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
can you all hear me?
You're breaking though, but we can hear you now.
So because the funny thing is, he's not even the first person statements. Serious domestic violence.
There's some serious
my
domestic
question
violence.
is, at what point exactly? At what point do we consider domestic violence serious?
Not serious.
Is it a slap?
Wow.
Is it a kick? Is it a punch? When do we consider domestic violence serious? Because again, it is not just physical. There are many other things that I've read out that are forms of domestic violence. So when do we look at it and say this is serious? Because as they say in Igbo land, I believe from the land that Ron comes, they say now from clap we they take enter dance. That's to enter dance, you start clapping first. So from little drops of water, next thing mighty ocean has happened in your house.
I'm going to say something, and I think I won't say anything for the remaining of this episode because I think we are getting confused. We have a very wide viewership. We are not pandering to feminists. Okay, we need to get our.
Wait.
I allowed you to talk. I allowed you to talk. We have a very wide. We should not be giving a wrong impression to the. Everybody has what they want to speak for. I told you that somebody made a statement. He's not here to defend himself. When he comes here, the mature thing to do is allow him to say what he intended to say and defend himself. I'm not defending him. I said let him come and repeat what he said and say the context to which he said what he said. Now you are speaking on his behalf and speaking. It's not right. It's not making it look like I'm the only person here with one view, then the rest of you are having one opinion. It's not right. Let's balance this thing up.
Ron, when I made my statement, what did I say? I said he wasn't the first one. He wasn't the first time I've come across that statement.
The fact that I just told you to let it go. You tell me sometimes to let things go, I let them go. Not because I don't want to, but because I understand where you're coming from.
It's not about him defending it. I asked a question. It's not about him defending anything. It's a simple question. And as I've said, he's not the only person who has made that statement. So wherever that statement has been made, whoever has heard that statement, the question is, when do we start to judge domestic violence as serious? These are the things we need to look at. It's not a matter of somebody coming to defend themselves or whatever. It's a simple case of we are looking at this thing all together. We can't now exclude one thing because, oh, somebody is not here. When you were talking about whatever you were talking about, I wasn't here. And it wasn't a case of, oh, Abby isn't here, so we're not going to talk about this. You kept talking, and that's fine. We are talking about different things. We're talking about different things. There's nothing about, and I take exception to when we have strong views and it is immediately labeled with a sneer and with such segregation of feminists.
My friend, listen, I got messages here. That's what they're saying. I'm not just saying it.
Then let them come out and put it on the thing now.
Hold on. I'm one guy here with 4 women. We cannot be singing the same song. Let's try to be balanced. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Do you mean by balance? Do you mean controlled? Do you mean controlled?
It's not control. She started the statement by saying, he said. I said, no. Since you've already started by he said, let's let it go. When he comes back, tackle him. I won't stop you. I won't disturb you. But let him be there to defend himself. That's what we're saying. There's no guy here. I'm the only guy here. I don't want a situation where everybody says,
where did he go? Where is Mr. H? He was here before. Where did he go?
He had to.
I think for me, it's not about a guy or a female. It's always about views. Unless you want us to be controlling our views and then be saying different things.
Yes,
so that
this group has never really kind of agreed on gender basis.
Listen, I'm not controlling
along gender lines.
Bumi has attacked me here before. I fought back.
And she has supported you. And Bumi has supported you as well before.
I supported him as well. So I don't understand.
Exactly.
People are texting me.
So the people that are texting you against it, they should stop it.
Want to say on the
write whatever you want to write here. And let's see.
Have I ever protested? No. The issue is this. I love a good, I like Jamajantis, I like war. But I want it to be balanced. Let the person be there. I like Jaguda fighting war.
Ron, we can refer. There was a time here we were talking about Bukky.
Ron,
there was a
wait.
time here
I
we
want
were
to
talking
say
about
something on
Buki
behalf of
and
Ron now.
Bumi.
I want to say something on behalf of Ron now. Please, the people who are texting Ron, stop it. You will not use Ron to control us. So stop it. If you have anything to say, go on the comment section and write it there. Stop disturbing Ron. Stop giving him a hard time. Stop texting him. Are we clear? This is our show. You are not going to come by backyard to come and control us.
No, it's not possible.
No, I'm serious. People will not come by backyards to come and control us. And we will text Ron and tell him what you are thinking. No, come and put your comments on the thing, or shut up your mouth.
And if they have views, they can come and join the call. They can join us and they can share their views.
Everybody. Which one is they are texting me? Stop texting Ron. I did not. He's not my producer for you people's fun and games.
I'm sorry.
Let's take a breather. Well, let's relax. This is the thing. So we just all of us can agree for something. So we
and can we also agree before I take a breather? Because now I'm starting to see several shades of red. Before I take a breather, can we just stop with this nonsense, male, female? We are here with views.
Yes.
Yes, some of us will go. Like me, as I've said, I'm equal opportunity offender. Abby said something about, she doesn't give two fucks about men being beaten. I'm still coming to that one because I give more than 1,000 fucks. Men should not be beaten by their women. And that's that. Nobody should.
If you understand my comments, then you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, but I'm still saying that I know I agree.
Everybody calm down. Okay, for the purpose of this subject today, because I opened the show saying that it's going to be a sensitive one, and people are going to take offenses and all that. For the purpose of the sensitivity of it, because somebody died as a result of this, let us try.
People have died within 2 days. Two.
Okay.
That we know.
Okay, wait. So 2 people have died. Let's be somber in addressing this. Next week we can hear. Don't worry. Next week we can run mad again. We can do what we do, fight, tomato. But for now, let's just be sober. Let's be sober throughout. After this, in honor of the fallen, in honor of the departed, the 2 departed souls. It's a tragic thing that happened. Let's be somber. Next week, anything you want to do, I am not going to put my mouth again. I'm not going to disturb anybody. I'm not going to listen to any text. I'm not going to listen to anybody's suggestion. But for today, let's talk about real issues, people's problems, personal issues, domestic violence. So everybody can be free to express. But let's try and be balanced.
Let me just clear this once and for all. Domestic violence, a gender neutral thing. However, if we look at statistics, you will know that women suffer from this more. Now, the idea that
it is reported more,
because it is, let's agree that it is reported more. Now, so if someone is talking, if I am talking and I'm talking about women, if you want to talk about men, you should go on your platform and talk about men. Don't try to tell me what to talk about because I am the one talking.
This now.
So, and if someone else wants to, and that's why I said I don't give two fucks about you telling me that men too report. Women be reporting. Everybody, let us all become reporters. If you're not reporting, we don't know. Somebody got raped, you don't tell anybody that you're raped. Nobody knows about it. So if your wife is slapping you at home and you sit down at home, it's not anybody's fault. It's the fact that you are not telling. This woman now, may God rest her soul. A lot of people have said, she should have done that. It's her fault. But we are saying that we can't just look at it from that perspective because we understand it as a woman. If you tell me now, Ron, if you know anybody that has been abused as a man and you want to tell us their own side of the story, we will hear you too. I can only talk about women that I know or that I've heard. So you can't, at that point, you can't tell me to feel for a man because I know the few men that have gone through similar situations. But the thing is, when they decide to live as a man, what happens to them? When a woman decides to live as a woman in Nigeria, what happens to them? Let's balance it from there.
Well, the reason why I give it. Okay, go.
Also, that thing that people that men do when, like you said, Abby, you're talking about your perspective as a woman, and then a man comes, well, men get raped too, or men get. I think it's a way of shutting us down. It's also it's another way of shutting us down. If you guys want to bring awareness to this issue, bring awareness to it. Talk about it. Don't laugh up. Don't think men are when you talk about men being raped, they talk about it. They laugh it amongst themselves, like, oh, well, whatever. If it's not serious of an issue, talk about it, bring it up, talk about it, but don't come and be coming on a woman's when women are not talking about it. You're saying, oh, but nobody talks about men. What? Why the fuck are you not talking about it?
Exactly.
I just think it's just a way.
But the thing is, I'm the one who is saying. May I say, I'm the one who is saying I give 1,000 fucks, and maybe I give 1,000 fucks because someone who is very close to me right now is walking into a domestic violence situation because presently they're already in the I'm joking and because they're a quiet person, because I was having a conversation with a family member and I said my biggest fear about this is they will get married, that beating will continue. And you know how they say still waters run deep. This person is a quiet person. They don't talk. One day, that smack is going to hit them the wrong way. They will turn around, throw a punch, and it will kill that woman. And next thing will be, hey, domestic violence. He beat her to death. He punched her and killed her. They won't realize that she's the one who's been panel beating him. And I said, I'm terrified because I have a sixth sense about things. And I said, I'm terrified about them coming together because I can almost see it. And that's why maybe for me, it's a very sensitive subject because someone who is very, very quiet, very, very loving, and utter gentleman is now with somebody who just takes delight in laying hands all the time.
And I agree with it, but the point I'm trying to make is this: if this man decides to walk away, let's say they are married, and he decides to walk away, and the woman decides to walk away, who is going to be more affected when they walk away on both sides? So, and what wait, both of them could be both of them could be affected, but we are looking at the case. See, we have a case study at hand. And and whatever we are talking about, we are using that case study to kind of reference to mirror other things that are happening. We are not invalidating those men that those things are happening to, but we are saying that on a larger spectrum, does it happen? So when we are talking, it's like somebody getting raped. Now, Abby, if you remember when George Floyd thing happened, you made me understand when we were saying, Black Lives Matter. I told you that all lives matter. I can never forget it. I told you that all lives matter, and you told me Black lives, that until this life matter, other lives does not matter.
Exactly.
Do you understand that all lives matter, but Black lives, and this is what we are saying. We are not saying that men, their feelings or whatever happens to them, but the people that are suffering more. Sorry?
Oh, I agree, and I'm not just. I'm just explaining why
I understand you, but I just need to clear that, just in case somebody heard me. And the reason I said that was because
for me. So that's why
the reason I said that particular statement is just because people has been coming to me. A lot of people come to me. Men to do this. Men, don't come to me. Go to your wall and write about what is happening to men. Don't come to me. I'm not your mouth speaker. I write what I know, and I can only speak of that.
Okay,
in fact, maybe one day.
Go on.
Okay, let's look at it like this. Now, this is a serious cause, and let's agree that maybe men do it more, right? For the purpose of this discussion. Let's agree that it's more. Don't you think we should be directing our messages to men and trying to get men to listen to your feelings, how you feel about it, how women feel about these abuses, how it traumatizes women? You know, I don't want to, and again, I'm appealing. I don't want to look as if I'm fighting everybody. I'm appealing. Let's construct it in such a way that, let's construct it in such a way that men get,
talk about this.
okay, let's construct it in a way that men get to understand the trauma women go through in all this. I don't want it to look as if it's battle of the sexes we are fighting. You do, you
No,
don't
it's
do,
not.
you don't
No,
do.
it's not.
That's not what it is.
It's not
That's
a
not what it
battle of
is.
the sexes at
That's
all.
where I'm coming from.
And
That's
in
where I'm
fact, I was going to say that maybe one Tuesday I will give it up for Ron to run a session where it's men
No,
and you guys
no, no,
talk.
no, no. Abby, no. Do you know that what's his name? Jerry, he's flying to Atlanta. That's why he can't be here. Jerry actually called me 3 days ago. He said because after this thing happened, he was the first person. He notified me. I didn't even know what was going on. He told me that we need to work on today's men. That we need to talk to today's men. I said, what do you have in mind? He said I should speak to Abby. He even told me that I should call Abby and tell her that there needs to be a show for men. You see it. I didn't even know you even had the idea. That's why he told me that we need to talk to men.
You see?
After you'll be saying something else.
Like you'll be fighting me. I love
No.
you.
To be fair to him, he actually likes him. He will say it himself.
You'll be fighting me. Imagine.
It's fun now. It's fun. So
There's
I'm
someone
sorry.
in our midst.
If I
welcome. But before you speak, before you speak, okay, yes, introduce yourself to us, please.
Come, do I like?
Wait, I just want him to introduce himself.
Yeah,
my name is Ifeanyi Uduma. That's pretty much what I can see. And yes, this
are you ex-Jam?
Yes, I am ex-Jam.
Okay. So before you say anything, Bumi has been waiting patiently, so I wanted to speak, please.
I just want to say it's a very uncomfortable feeling I don't do online. I run away from it. So I don't say anything. So this is me taking courage to actually come online.
We'll be gentle with you, I promise.
We'll be very gentle with you. And as far ex-John now.
I jumped online because of what was happening, and I probably will have a few things to say. And I'll say that.
That's good.
Okay, let Bumi finish speaking, and then you will speak after her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, ex-Jam. I always get excited when I say ex-Jam. Okay, Bumi.
I just like to make a couple of quick points. I'm actually a victim of domestic violence. And I know that a lot of women, they get really, really upset when they hear about these stories. And they don't understand why we stay. And they slag us off and they insult us. And they say, you want to die because of marriage. But I know that it's not coming from a bad place. It's coming from a place of caring. It's coming from, not wanting to see that shit. So I just want to make a couple of points that are not made often, that get lost in this conversation. And one is trauma bonding. And this can happen to a man or a woman. And the idea is that sometimes after domestic violence has happened more than once, a psychological settling comes into the situation, right? For example, when one partner beats the other partner, there's often something described as a honeymoon period right after, where this person is now behaving better than they've ever behaved, and they're being this model person that you always wanted them to be. And it tends to make people give them another chance. Also, right after a fight, there's an exhaustion that tends to come over whoever the victim was, a mental, physical, psychological, that you can't even describe, that makes it impossible for you to move or plot or plan. You're just like a deer in the headlight for a few weeks, days, months, maybe. And then, but by the time you come to, you start to, basically it's a cycle. And so it's very difficult to, once you've been in that cycle, that's why people say, once it happens once, just leave. They're not saying it, to be saying you should have high standards. You should have high standards. You should love yourself enough to say it. But there's a psychological, it becomes harder, basically. It becomes exponentially harder
Excuse me.
Once you get stuck in that cycle. So if it happens once, twice, you know. And some of these people, they're very, this is the other side of domestic violence that's not talked about a lot. The people who perpetrate it, they're clever. They know how the world sees it. So, for example, you find the 40% of cops beat their wives, which is a much higher number than the general population. Why? Because they know they can get away with it. The guy from last week, for example, if you listen to every time he mentioned domestic violence, he was absolutely 100% focused on the consequence for the guy. Not once did he even mention the feeling for the woman, the threat to her life or her well-being or her physical safety. It was all about what America would do to you. You better not try it, retrain yourself because of the consequences for the guy. So the consequences are a really big motivating factor. So for example, aside from the fact that maybe you're a couple, you know, you can get away with it. Like for example, in my situation, my ex-husband, he would only do it at specific times, like when we just got married, or if I just had a baby, or if we just moved to a new country, when it's really hard for me to leave. And people underestimate how often that is the case. They think, why can't you just leave? Why can't you just leave? But usually whoever is perpetrating this abuse knows their victim, and they're doing it in a very, very strategic way that we may not be able to see from the outside. They know their vulnerability basically, and they're using it. And then the other thing that makes women stay is the kids. And people are always like, oh, you know, but you have to be alive, blah, blah, blah. But we need to be more detail oriented when we talk about this stuff, because as a mother, a lot of mothers, there's absolutely nothing they won't do for their kids. So if the choice is between them, a lot of times,
living or dying,
if you build a life with their father, and this is across the globe. For example, in America now, it takes 2 professionals to live a certain lifestyle. If you leave him here, your standard of living immediately falls. You may not want that as a mother. In Nigeria, especially back in the day, a lot of times women didn't even have her own financial independence. If she left the guy, he could do what Ron said, take the kids, or do what Abby and Candy were saying, just abandon them altogether. So sometimes women will weigh up the consequences, and they will feel like, and this is a mistake we make, is that often we don't think our life is in danger. We think it's just a slap, it's just a fight. I hate that he's doing this, but let me stay until my kids are a certain place, or let me stay until my career is in a certain place, or but no matter how many times people say, don't stay for your kids, of course we're going to stay for our kids. For most women, nothing trumps their kids. And I'm specifically focusing on women right now.
And that thing of not even realizing that your life is in danger.
Yes, Abby, that is such a critical point. And it brings me to my next point, which is that more often than people realize, domestic violence only happens once and it's fatal. So going around being self-righteous, saying don't stay with a man that beats you, a lot of men don't hit their wife until the day they actually shoot them. You know, a lot of women die at the hands of men. It's femicide is huge. It's huge all over the world. In India, in the US, men are the #1 reason that women die. And often it's not like there was a history. It's just the first time he just lost it. You're about to leave him or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
And so one other point is because domestic violence, you know, the worst that can happen is death, and men are just stronger than women. Women are more likely to die by, you know, a higher number. I don't even know the number. So I don't look at them as the same, but the effect psychologically is the same. The effect physically, though, is not the same. Men are much more capable of killing women than women are capable of killing men. So yeah, I just wanted to share those things with you.
Wow, thank you so much. Honestly, there's so much to think about. Thank you so much for that. There's so much to think about with that. You know, especially that thing you said about it is just once, and that's why sometimes and women, I know I'm going to offend you. You see this thing of running our mouth when you know that this man throws punches and slaps. Just be strategic. You are strategic in many things. Why is it that when he's not the man is one? That's the moment you want to. See your head. I'm leaving you. Sit down, plan this thing. If possible, if you live in Kutuwenji, make sure that your escape is in Kafancha, where he cannot easily find you, because you don't know how people will react when the thing that they have kept captive becomes free. You don't know.
Actually,
and you don't want to test it.
That's the most dangerous time in a victim's life, is when they leave the perpetrator. That's why most shelters have to keep their address secret. When you leave them is when they're most likely to kill you. It's when your life is the most danger. That's why women who go around saying, leave him, leave him, leave him. You have to be strategic. I know you're trying to help your friends. I know you're trying to be kind. I know you're frustrated at the situation. You want this person to leave, but you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, you can't even bring them into your own house, because your house is the first place they will come to. You have to really think about.
Yes.
Everybody has to come like a village and really plan this. And that is why I was saying about who do you trust? Because knowing who you trust, because if you go and tell the wrong person who is more sympathetic to your husband, because that's all that handsome fine man that is rich, how can you say no, I don't? And then they run to go and tell your husband, they could kill you. They could be the reason why you die.
Absolutely.
So it's also knowing the right person to go and tell, to put in your tribe, in your village, that can help you strategically get away from your abuser.
I agree 100%. You will be surprised at how much that creates trouble when you tell the wrong person. That makes it. They just want to come back and tell you that, from me telling you, I chopped even more bitches than usual. They're not going to come back and tell you again. They're just going to be like,
okay, I think if I
please.
I just wanted to answer. I've been listening from the beginning, so it might be in bits and pieces, and I'll pick up from what Bumi also said. But I'll answer Herbie's question. She started this scene with the question, "What can we do?" And I think when there was the argument, that's why I jumped online. We kind of lost plot of it because we now went male or female. We went gender. But the question is, what can we do? First things first is you have a platform, and that's why people listen. That's why I started listening. You have a platform to tell people what the actual message is. So I was the first one that I jumped on. I told Ron, the law that you were quoting about, the penal code, is the actual Northern Nigeria penal code. So that's what it says. And it says it allowed, if you read it, it quotes it under the fact that it's going to be a customary law, which is why if you challenge it, they will go to Sharia. But however, to cover that, the VAP Act for 2015 was passed by under Jonathan. And it is interesting to read the 19 of it, because it actually, Article 19 actually addresses what we're addressing, but it gives an extra. One says a person who batters his or her spouse commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or to a fine not exceeding 200,000 or both. That's the person that commits it. The second one is where we come in. So a person, and it says, a person who attempts to commit this act. Now, if you attempt to commit the act, it continues the same way. I won't read all the lingo, but it says 1 year or a fine not exceeding 100. It goes on. Number 3, a person who incites, aids, abets, or counsels another person to commit this act. That means if you have those friends that say, I beat my wife, and you can also beat her, it helps. You also get 1 year or a fine, not 1 year, not a fine, not exceeding 200. It goes further and says the person who receives or assists another who in his or her knowledge committed the offense provided for in this subsection 1 is an accessory after the fact and is liable to a conviction in a term of imprisonment of 1 year or a fine not exceeding 200,000. Now, what that does,
so those sister-in-laws that holds down the wife, so their brother can beat.
Plus pastor, I knew and I did not say you are liable after the fact. Now, the problem is that most people do not know the law.
We
don't. Most people don't know this law. That's one. 2 is out of the 36 states, I think about 18 have adopted this which includes if the person is living in Lagos, trust me, they were one of the people. If you're living in Abuja, you're one of the people that adopted this law. That means if you know the law, you can actually start to pre-program people. People, members of the public know. And if I tell you about my problem and you go the other way to go and tell this man that, okay, you should stop doing, realize that you're crossing a line now. You're getting to the point where you're telling me stay. I'm telling you, sir, you can shout it out. So if people know the law, they know what to expect about it. Going further, how do we solve this
before
problem?
you go further, can you repeat very briefly? Can you repeat very briefly the part of the people who actually support or help or aids the person beating?
It says 4. I'll read it plain. A person who receives or assist another who, to his or her knowledge, committed the offense provided for in subsection 1 of this section is an accessory after the fact and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 1 year or a fine not exceeding 200,000 or both.
So the people that are there when it's happening, the people that knew that it would happen,
once you assist,
the
reason why they put this is if I tell you, you should be able to tell somebody. I might tell you because I don't have a voice. You should be able to tell somebody. You should be able to tell somebody. If you don't tell somebody, then we are all just shouting on social media.
We are all competing in a way,
that's what we're doing. But so that's why you hear people say, "Yeah, but we told her now. We knew this would get to this." What did you do about it? Shout. Now, laws can only be, especially in Nigeria, laws can only be enforced if we all know about it and we all take it in. That's why
it's a deterrent to know that if you could be liable, right?
Yes. Exactly.
That's why. So when you're taking up the case, you know exactly what you're doing. The other thing about it is, to be honest, this topic just made me think about it. My first form of domestic violence I ever witnessed was the other way, and it wasn't the beating. It was a woman and the man. I had a neighbor of ours come downstairs one day. I was still a young child, and he came down with a spoon to ask for palm oil to make lunch for his children. I didn't understand it until the woman was beating the house girl. The house girl ran out with pap. She ran away with pap because she wasn't eating. The man came down with the spoon to get oil so he can make lunch for the people. She would want to go to market. He would drive her and then leave her there. And I had stayed with them. My parents would leave me with them sometimes. And I could realize something was off. And so that's my own basis. So that's a different ball game to talk about. But the whole point of this act is that it addresses what it is: domestic violence.
All of us. No male, no female.
The reason why
all
that
of
stat
us
comes up and it's so overwhelming is because of the societies we've lived in and what has been in the past. I was raised as a boy that if you beat me, I will not shout. If you're abusing me, I will suck it up.
Yeah.
Now, think of what 20 years of that being raised as will suck up. That even if I get in an abusive relationship, I wouldn't feel it is abusive. I wouldn't even know it is abusive. Somebody mentioned something that was very interesting. You mentioned, how can you tell a man that a man, when you could see a man in the market and he's buying tampons, he's buying this thing for his wife. You always see it in terms of the man is controlling the woman. Have you ever seen it in terms of the woman sent to the man? And if he doesn't buy the right tampon, you send him back. Now,
that shouldn't be humiliating.
But you don't see it as humiliating. But I'm coming from work. I've worked all day long. I went to the shop just as you told me. I brought it back to the house, and then you tell me that this is not the tampon that I used to use. This is not the right. Send it back.
That's bad. No matter what it is, she asks you to buy.
So that's
exactly.
You have to deal with it in
not
all
cool
the forms.
in any way.
Yeah, so it's not male or female. You have to deal with it in all the forms.
Yes.
In all of it. Now, being able to deal with it comes in this one, dealing with female own. We have to realize that there's a big underlying problem that's already happening, which is something that when Ogaron is doing the male version, it's something we'll talk about differently. There is an attack on the family system, and the attack is not through the females, it's through the men. So there's a lack of men. So half the time you're
real men.
You're having boys who are getting married and are willing to have baby mamas, not fathers. Now, the interesting part about it is because
I'm in love with you.
Because there is an
people, I have found my husband.
His wife is.
You won't find out if you ask their wife first.
I know, right?
I have found my husband.
You mine now.
Online husband.
See, the problem is that
my online husband.
because there is that attack on men, and it's the honest truth. It's because of the way the society is eroding. You're having a bunch of men who are confused on what it is to be a man, having to raise children. So they don't know. And the more we do it, the more we just realize they don't know. Somebody said something which was very interesting. I think it was Jordan Patterson. He said the rules of engagement. If I and Ron were quarreling, if me and Ron were quarreling, we will shout, we will escalate it. From shouting, we will get higher. From higher, we'll throw away our chairs, we'll push ourselves. From there, we'll go to fist fight. We know that is the rules of escalation. But if I'm quarreling with Bumi, I might shout, Bumi will cry. I'm confused. I'll keep quiet, Bumi will push me. Do you get my point? Is I don't know how to react. I can't deal with that emotion. So I'm going to do the one thing that will work. I'll slap Bumi. What do you think will happen? She'll be in shock the first time, but I'll see that it keeps her quiet. It worked. Tomorrow, what do you think I will do when I get to the point that I don't have any other control? I'll slap her again.
Until the 7th time when she not
carries we're painting a picture, and then the emotional part Bumi said comes in. She's first reacted with shock. The second time, she's going to move to a corner. If you try to think an animal, it will happen. The third time, she will stay in that corner and she will be boxed in. Then she will start to deal with the emotions. Should I leave him? Should I not leave him? But when he slapped me, he came back, he said sorry. Now, note that what I said, the beginning part about this whole thing is this guy hasn't been taught how to react. He hasn't been taught how to react. He never
Fine, please.
For those that
I'm sorry, Kayode said, "Oh, Bobby will slap you and start crying."
For those that were taught how to react. Sorry, for those that were taught how to react.
Passive aggressive, he'll never change.
Yeah. For those that were taught how to react, it's not that we were taught all of a sudden you just taught how to react. No. It was like you were told that these situations will happen. You were told to manage things. You were taught certain things that will apply now. I'll tell you one of the certain things. You were taught that when you told a woman, "Will you marry me?" it wasn't the other way around. It wasn't you brought her in. It was that she agreed. So you took a responsibility for that person. So you will not protect that person. You will not hurt that person. Do you get? You were defined the rules of which while you were a man. So that kind of helps you curb whatever lion you think you had. When you reach the front of your house, you leave the lion outside and come inside. And let's organize this thing well. So those are the ways, but those are the ways that can help us to tackle this. But why? Because we know what the law is. I'll just summarize it and say we know what the law is. Tell people. If you tell people, they will use it. 2, we have sons. These are the people we raise well, and it curbs these statistics because they now know how to deal with what they're dealing with. They know how to deal with this super strength you think you have. Don't use it on somebody. Really and deal with it.
And I've said this many shows ago before. When men get together, whether it's beer parlor, Zoom call, party, whatever it is, that when men get together, your conversations should be more than the yansh of a woman and who you've tapped and this and that. The conversation should be about when you hear one of your, they say, my old man, I just died, I don't give her one tower. And everybody acts horrified. That's
have you ever really seen men talk?
I'll
tell you something about I'll show you something about men talking, which is what is said. I'll give you this instance of where I worked with certain people. I won't call the people, I'll call where it was. But it's a confined space and we're sitting together. And while we are halfway over the ocean somewhere, the person tells me, "Udu, I'm getting a divorce." And I say, "Oh, wow, what happened?" She said, I've probably been away at work too long and he outgrew me and he keeps quiet. And I say, "Oh, okay. Are you okay with it?" And he's like, "He's okay." And I'm saying, "Fine." And he says, "Thanks for listening to me." I say, "It's okay."
That's all. And that was the conversation.
We are not talking about over beer. Half the thing. Half the time, you think we will have these conversations. We don't. It's not. Our means of talking is not. Our means of talking is not. You don't push it more than that. Don't push it more than that because we won't tell you more.
But that's why most of you end up with psychiatrists eventually.
Again, the last thing I wanted to say to me, talking about when people snap. what she was describing was what happens when the stats is quite staggering. If you look at it, when people snap, it's more dangerous when the man is quiet all through and he snaps.
Yeah.
And he snaps. So what happens is most of the snaps that you just see violence and he kills the woman is he just snapped. The problem is because he hasn't spoken for so long, the triggers are not even noticed. The triggers are not noticed. And again, I always encourage people, if you want to get married and you're a young lady, I ask you this question. After he said he's interested in you, please don't go planning wedding. Don't go far. Go and sit on your high seat. Let him woo you. I use the word woo very carefully. Woo involves he will show not just his interest, but how does he treat people? How does he treat other people? And how are his friends? If you haven't met them, you don't know who this man is.
And his parents and his siblings.
If you haven't met his friends, trust me, if you haven't met his friends, you don't know who this man is. And friends are not people that he drinks beer with. There are people that he calls me. I am on this call. I'll show you this. I'm on this call because Oga Ron is the same set as my elder brother, and I know him. That's the only reason why I'll listen. So if you know that, the problem we're having to solve domestic violence.
Does that make me an honorable person? If I
beg you. Showing. Hello, Inuka.
I want to something. For me, please. Yes, your point.
Thank you so much. What if I said about men? I really agree with him. I agree with the part where they're the problem. But not in a men are terrible, men are bad thing. But there's been a change in the way we live as a society, and men just don't have the upbringing required to actually be a man in society anymore. And there are many reasons for that, depending on where you are in the world. Like last week when you guys were talking, and whatever his name is was talking about how there's so many single parents in the States now. But he never actually mentioned why that is. When we talk about those things, we talk as if we blame only feminism, we blame only women. Whereas in reality, a lot of this stuff is actually caused by capitalism. It is caused by capitalism and the patriarchy. There was one very, very interesting thing I read some time back where this American was talking about how when Americans first came to America, the sons were by their father's side most of their life on the farm, right? And then the father had to go into when we became industrialized, the father had to go into the factory. Suddenly, for the first time, he was separated from his son, and his son is now spending a bulk of his time with his mother instead of his father. Now, the suddenness with which that happened in American culture, it's different in Nigerian culture, but each culture has been attacked because we're all on this one globe where capitalism affects all of us just in different ways and at different paces. But what tends to happen, especially with boys, because unlike girls, who nature has a way of telling a girl your childhood is over and that's your period. There's a physical, your childhood is over, you are now a woman, that forces women to kind of grow up. Because now, if you don't, you're going to find yourself pregnant and fucked up, blah, blah, blah. But there's no natural thing for guys. So for a millennia, most societies tend to have rituals around when boys come of age, a lot of time spent with their dads, blah, blah, blah. But capitalism created this cutthroat life where the men are just never around now. They're in the office, they're on business trips, and they're in prison. Women to raise these boys and make them men. But how can a woman we love to say, oh, it's feminism, it's the single parents, but no, this is a problem even within two-parent families. The caliber of men we are raising today is just extremely low, and they're the ones that cannot deal with these emotions. They're the ones that get in their feelings. They're the ones that start lashing out, cheating, beating women. We just did not give them what they need to be men. I feel sorry for them, honestly. I think the ones that snap, I think those ones have mental issues,
psychological problems, deep-seated issues
that we just don't see. I think
you feel what for men? What did you say? You feel what for men?
You feel sorry for men.
I think that he was trying to come up with something. It couldn't last long.
It had to.
Yeah, so that was part of why I was so mad about that guy last week. He was making two assumptions that really annoyed me. One was that I know he's not here, but he can hear and he can come back and address it. The first assumption was he was acting as though men and women are equal, like we're not fighting this world where one has more privilege than the other. And there's a way you have to behave when you know if you are losing your privilege, you're not going to give it up that easily. He did not acknowledge that. He just acting as though we're one and the same. And then capitalism and the patriarchy. I've said it many times. Even men are victims of the patriarchy. The patriarchy and capitalism together, and imperialism actually, and white supremacy. They're all interconnected. They're all linked. And black men regularly blame the results of this shit on women and feminism, and it's just insane. And
I thought this was for our podcast. I thought this information was for our special podcast. Why are you saying it here?
or relevance me.
For our podcast.
We have a podcast.
Copyright infringement. Our political podcast.
But yeah, it's true. It's why that's why I want to go in that direction, because that's, to me, that's the echelon of the problem. But we can still, address these things here. That's it. I'm done.
I can see Ashake. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Okay,
Hello.
so you've heard, I'm sure you've been listening to, the views and the points that people have been drawing up. So would you like to add anything, please?
No, I literally just came in.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, to say something.
So
just listen.
So run.
Okay.
So yeah, I like Bumi and Ifeanyi's point of view, and I thank God that now we are beginning to make headways. We're about to go up violent with Happy Fans.
It's you that started it.
You see, Wahala, I'm just even trying to commend you people for being
Yeah.
nice.
It's you that started it.
Okay, so back to the niceness of my sisters and by the way, I have to commend Candy again today for being an exceptionally wonderful wife or brilliant
Candy.
mother. But Candy is a very nice wife. I'm always proud of Candy. Anyway, that's
I'm just a nice person, Ron. Just a nice person.
He never commends me. Never.
Okay. So, I think we're making progress in the sense that we need to start trying to emphasize, now that we're armed with these laws that Ifeanyi has so graciously explained to us. I think what we really should be doing is should be selling, and one person I know that can do this very well is Happy Pass. She has a following, she disseminates information, and this is the kind of thing I need. Why are you shocked? Are you not my PA?
I'm sure.
And this is the kind of thing Happy should be helping us spread. Spread the good news. There's something available for everybody. Let us spread the good news. We can't be sitting and be listening to, hey, they kick somebody in the chest. Hey, they use hammer and hit somebody on the head. And all these things. Let me even make you guys laugh. We are talking about law. I live in the Republic of South Africa. I think South Africa has the greatest law for protection of gender violence. When I say there's a law and a punishment for all those abuse you listed. In South Africa, there's a punishment, a law for every single one of them. Guess what? The femicide rate is high.
Is high.
Very, very high. And I'm not even joking. Every time you turn the news, femicide, and it's usually guys that snap. Like, you always say that, he was a nice guy. The neighbors will tell you that he doesn't speak. He's the quiet one. He doesn't talk. It's always that moment. That's just 1 second of madness. Everything happens. So that's why I want to hammer on peace, man or woman. If your woman is always on the edge when certain things happen, like that she gets violent, maybe another female calling, and again, I don't support jealous lovers. If you know that you want to stay with her, the thing she does not like is another girl calling you. I beg. Before knife comes out of kitchen and enters your neck or stomach.
Separate and go your way, ba.
And then I beg you in the name of no, they are not. These people will never separate. Let's not pretend as if we are talking to people who have sense to live. They are not living. They will never. There's nothing you are going to say that will make them live. So let's not pretend here. These people are stuck in their ways. No, let's not pretend. They are not going to leave. But while they are going to stay, let us help.
It's
Help
true.
in the way
A lot of time when
yes.
people are in that situation, they're not thinking straight anymore. It's
Yeah,
like
they can be. A lot of people are saying that I could have helped
because there's a weird in the midst of all these basketballs, right? In the midst of all these basketballs, there's still a kind of weird love that
It's
you
not-
see
it's
the
not
woman.
bonding.
The woman
It's
will
not
put on
bonding.
makeup, tie gele, and wear
Wait.
anko with the man and go to party.
I
think that's
You
why
start
you
playing
say
and you
that.
think one of them is dead. You'll be like, I saw them yesterday. They look like the happiest of the couples there.
Wait, have you heard of what they call a phenomenon they call makeup sex before? Have you heard it before?
Yes.
Of what?
Makeup sex. Have you heard it before?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
makeup sex.
That's the honeymoon period I was talking about. So
I thought you
Yeah,
were about to talk of the Stockholm
So the
syndrome.
relationship is like highs
No,
and
no,
lows, high highs and low
that.
lows, and people get addicted to that.
Now, there's makeup system. There's a chemical imbalance that is generated. I was watching it on YouTube. They were explaining the psychology behind it. That it gets to it's a high for the woman.
Yes, yeah.
It's a high.
So you will keep
And I
doing
see
that
this.
high.
You beat me, you can't say you go see my Toto, you lie.
It's now, I saw this in Nigeria many times. How many of you who lived in Nigeria noticed this about worry girls? It was only worry girls that noticed it. They will deliberately prime their boyfriends, like publicly prime the guy to like hit her or beat her. And if the guy does not respond, they'll be like, you don't love me, you don't think about me, you don't feel me. The moment you beat her, then the love is now guaranteed. Yes, he has shown that he loves me.
Yes.
And people might think it's crazy. It exists.
No, I have
Let's
met
not
one
shy away
woman,
from it.
just one,
It-
who told me that
exists.
if she's not beaten by her man, he doesn't love her.
But isn't that
It's-
cultural?
Yeah, it's cultural. It's cultural.
No.
It's cultural. There's a,
She learnt it from her
there's a,
mother.
Tribes
She
of
learnt it
people
from her
that
There's a
mother.
tribe. It's
that.
mostly it's towards Benin and Wari you're talking about. There's a tribe.
Worry, I know worry girls
The
do that.
beating has to be.
There's a higher
the beating has to be
instance
sweet.
of wife
Yes.
beating because
That
they
the
think
beating
that
has to be
it's a
sweet.
job to
As the
train their
beating is
wife.
sweet, the marriage is sweet.
But
Don't
Bumi,
get
I've
it
met
twisted.
a
They're the ones
Yoruba
initiating
woman.
it. Wait, they are the ones
Bumi, I've met
initiating
a
the beating.
Yoruba woman.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
Yoruba
yeah.
woman. I met
It's
her.
a thing like
And
that.
she told me
It's
that
them.
if her husband does not beat her, that he does not love her. And she
Good.
learnt it from her mother and her father. That's because every time, because I was now trying to understand that how did you relate this one with love? She was like, every time her father beat her mom, her mom would tell her that it's because your daddy loves me. Oh. So in her head,
Heartbreaking.
it was now if her man does not beat her, then
And in these situations, the guy is usually the victim. Like, I mean, total victim. This guy doesn't hit anybody before anything. Then, because of the fear of him being considered as a weak man, a man who does not, he now plays into her hands. It happens.
How
These are real.
does that make him a victim? That doesn't make him a victim.
No, when I say victim, is that remember that relationship between man and woman, nobody ever understands it. We can sit down here and postulate all we love. You cannot separate somebody who is in love in an abusive relationship. The person will not go. We can only beg and advise. The person will not leave. Now I'm telling you that this is
point
something.
that-
You can't see that the person that is choppy, that is doing the beating, is the victim.
No. The one that will go and prime the husband to beat her to show love. Remember, there might be evidence that the guy wasn't into it, and it's just like the Western world have now modified it. They've packaged it into BDSMs and
But
what
wait,
they call them.
if you
Yes,
are not
man.
if you are not a violent person, can you be made violent?
Yeah, yes, you can. Very
Yes,
easily.
yes,
For a guy,
yes.
for a guy,
Yes,
very,
can.
very
It's
easy.
a question. No, I wasn't arguing
No,
it.
why-
Because
It has
answer
happened
this
to me,
question.
so I know you can.
I
Wow,
definitely believe that if
is-
it is a cultural thing, there will be men forced to do it because all the other men
Yes.
around them are doing it.
Yes.
That's where it comes from. That's why it's also important to have a father when that
That's
child
the
is
kind of
between
thing.
when that boy is between 10 to 20. There's a lot more of the influences you get will be as a result of I've had all this American slang that the girl allowed me hit second base. half the time, most of all I learned about sexual intercourse was on the basketball court.
Yeah,
So
mental
you
goes to
think about that. So that's the thing. So it's possible that I could be there and they tell me, beating a girlfriend makes me really popular. A guy will buy into that. A young boy will buy into that.
Unfortunately,
And
yeah.
he has never been violent. He's never seen his dad violent. But because he wants to be part of the tribe, that happens. Now, speaking of tribe, the other thing I wanted to say, speaking of tribe again, is the other reasons to combat these signs of things is we need to have the multiplying effect of the examples. When I was growing up, there were families I knew. I could mention 5 or 6 families whose father and mothers were family friends to us. So somehow they created a community that made me know that, one, you can't beat your wife. You have to treat them with respect. But we've become so single-minded in our raising our own kids, or being so shut up in our own houses, technology and all, that we don't have these communities that our boys can be raised in. And it doesn't matter if you're a single parent or not. Find that community. There are communities of boys can be
You're
raised
so
in.
right, because I'm thinking of when I was growing up, and the NAF women and the NAF men and everything I would gather together. It was the same. Like, you would never will you hear, because they took so much pride in that officer and a gentleman title.
In fact, there were people I remember that now that I was more afraid of disappointing them than disappointing my dad.
Exactly.
Because I could answer to my dad and he would forgive me. But if I go tell Uncle this person I did that, he would look at me and be like, after all we've been talking about. Now, my dad has passed, but those men remain. So if you create those communities, but the problem is we're not creating enough of those communities to raise men.
Opportunities for men to
Yes,
be around boys.
that's the thing. So if we do not raise that, how would I know? How would I be aware that my right hand is not a weapon, it's a tool? How would I be aware of simple things that if I see a girl carry something, I'll respect her? I will go help her with something. Or if I don't have those communities, I haven't seen enough examples of it.
Exactly.
I can't do that.
Spot on.
Bumi said something like this last year. I don't know if Bumi remember those mentioned. Bumi said that part of what killed us was the decline of the extended family.
Yes, I remember.
A male dies, a father dies, then the uncles or the older male figures in the family take that back and train the boy to be men. Cousins, uncles.
Those are responsible family members, or not the ones that want to come in and collect everything.
Let me learn now. There's a context to it. This was before the world became what it is. Over capitalist and selfish. Then family lived in community. We're like almost like Indians now. We live a communal lifestyle whereby everybody was concerned about every single unit in that family. We wanted to know, did your son pass exam? Did he have first? If he didn't, your uncle say, your son did not, he will call you, he will spank you in presence of your parents. And this is for you to know that if your parents are weak,
and then your grandparents will hug you out living now. What's wrong with you? You know.
But you see that community. You see that community chopping of cane. I chop and well. My mother would walk me to the person down the streets. They would be beating me before I reach our house. They would have beat me up and down the streets.
See, let me show you the effect of that. Like you said, community raising. The effect of community raising is my dad had these 2 friends. I remember this man because he was part of Scripture Union, and if he was the one to punish you, he went beyond caning. The problem with Uncle Rich was he would open the Bible and make you read the Bible about the offense that you committed. And we'll have a 1-hour talk on why it was a sin. Then we will not get flogged. Imagine young boys thinking about it. But because of that man's structure, whenever I wanted to commit crime, we will wait. Is your dad around? Okay. Which of the dads is around? Is there a dad that we can get beyond? Then by the time we deliberate this thing, we're doing very close friends. But by the time we finish deliberating, we will decide that this crime is not worth committing. Let him alone.
You know why I'm laughing?
What
If
happened?
I laughing,
Why?
you know what? Back in the FMS, before you
Yes.
guys time, while we were in the FMS, we had this wicked senior. It was in Form 5, was it Form? Yeah, Form 5, we're in Form 1, Form 2. Guess what he does? Imagine a student, secondary school student, he had a book of sin, like book of all the offenses you can commit in school, in the FMS. He wrote all the offenses that you can commit with corresponding punishments on that book. You can never catch this in your dead without that book in his pocket. So when you run across the senior and you don't greet him, you call him gently, come. I'm
So
sorry,
yeah,
sir.
let
This
us
is
open the book.
you just say, okay, come and sit down. You just say, you just call another junior boy your mate. You say, please read section 5, subsection this. Any junior boy that runs without greeting a senior is liable to 15 strokes of the cane, front jumps, and press up. How many front jumps? Like 2 meters. What's the distance? 2 meters. Press up, how many? 25. You see? He just violated the law. And he makes this thing, and he's not laughing. But he's not
Can't make
laughing.
it
But
up.
he's
You can't
talking.
make it up.
He
They don't
became
go.
the law to himself.
They don't. And when officers, you can't report him to officers because when they get to find out that this is what's going on, it's kind of amusing to them that somebody actually took out his time to itemize and codify punishment, school regulations.
Did he hand over the book when he left?
If somebody had that book, trust me.
He should just be handing it over. They should be handing it over every year to
Abby, guess what? Somebody you know still did it. Years later, somebody you know continued for where he stopped. You know the person.
But you know what? When we're talking about this topic, I really, really like something that Bumi and Ifeanyi said. And Ifeanyi made great clarification on it. And by the way, you're not my husband, so you cannot disturb me about getting married again. I have married a man.
Not see you.
No, where am I going to see you? Shebi, you're in the States. So how I want to see you? You be my online husband, so that these people stop disturbing me that I should go and get married. So going back to the point. So basically, I think what will work in Nigeria, because one thing that Nigerians don't like is to be implicated in someone else's sin. Right?
Yes.
I don't do married men, but this online married man, I'm doing him. Which was your own? Leave me alone. So Nigerians don't like to be involved in someone else's crime. Because when two people are boxing themselves in the street, you see people gather. As soon as they hear police, everybody has taken off. They've left the two. They could be supporting two people fighting. Yeah, punch him. Next thing, that one is being, he's feeling hyped up. He picks up a stone, smashes the head of the other one. Before he looks up, everybody has done. The ferege, nobody is left behind. But when the laws, I think what will really work is if it's being reiterated over about the responsibility of the outsiders. That if somebody comes to you and says, I am being beaten, and your response is, go back, you are implicated if anything happens.
The interesting thing also is it's just not just the section 19. Even if you got ahead of it, it restricts certain things. There's somebody that spoke about where the man took away his ATM card and the rest of them. You need to understand that the crimes also cater. There are sections in that vape law that caters for unwillful holding of economic abuse of properties.
Wow.
There are things about it. It's 33 pages. Just read it up. But there are things about that he can't do that. He can't withhold you. It also caters for he can't withhold you having communications with the rest of your family. Because it caters
it's one thing for us to have laws, and it's another thing for you to be able to enforce those laws.
As I can understand, but the first thing,
we have these laws in Nigeria, but these laws are not enforced.
No, but the first thing,
new laws.
Most people don't know the law. Do you know the law?
They don't know
How
it.
well do you know the law? Because you could say we have these laws. You say we have these laws, but you don't know the law. If you know the law, you would cry to high heavens about it. And we think enforcement back in Nigeria has to do with government. You realize that most times that we live outside Nigeria, we don't realize that laws are being enforced by just people that we will call snitches in Nigeria. Here, if a neighbor sees you beating your wife, he's calling the cops. If a neighbor sees you doing something, he's calling the cops. If he sees you more than 1 or 2 times, he will even go away to get pamphlets, which is what the point I was trying to get to. Pamphlets of places you can find help and even sleep it for you. In Nigeria, the thing is, going further than knowing those laws, we can also, they are few and far between, but we can also start to think of, are there places that we have seen, even in passing, where this woman can find help? And while we are doing that, he came with the man, just slip out the paper and say, you can call these people if you need it.
But
laws only work if
there are about just 5 centers in the whole of Nigeria.
Laws work if you participate in it. If you don't participate in it, it doesn't work. It makes no sense.
So my point is that it's one thing for us to have laws and ways for us to enforce it. It's another thing for us to change the cultural mindset of people. So, for instance, even if a woman reports her husband to the law enforcement and he's taken to the police, for instance, she's still the same person that is going to refuse to testify in court because of family pressure or church or mosque or whatever. So, my point is, say your point.
Finish.
Your point. My point is that we need to change the mindset. We can have all the laws and all the enforcement. It's not going to make any difference if we cannot change people's mindset. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, from my own generation, Gen Z upwards, with a lost cause, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I disagree with you.
Here's the thing about
very few of us, very few of us think a certain way, and a lot of people, I've even met men that know that their wives are that their friends are beating their wives, and they're still cool with them.
But this is what I'm saying, Ashake. Ashake, this is what I'm saying. If this law is put out like public service announcements in Nigeria, so every time the TV comes on, they do an advert, they put it up. This is what is happening, this is the law, and this law is not focusing on who beats the person and who is being beaten, but it focuses on the people who know. And said that if you know and you don't wait, and it says if you know and you don't do anything, you will go to jail. You will have to pay this fine. And it said over and over and over. How quickly do we pick up songs, jingles, things like that? And then it is public service announcements we will not hear. We will hear it. And then what is going to happen is when people go to church, go to mosque, go to their boss, go to and say to them, I am being abused.
You don't even need all that. You know why? This is I'm shocked by this law because we don't have it here. I know that for a fact. But we have something similar for drunk drivers. And this is the thing. If somebody is going to drive drunk, you can never stop them. That's who they are. So if someone, and it's the same thing with domestic violence, the perpetrator and the victim, you can't, that decision has to come from them. Ashake is absolutely right. But what is great and new about this law is that it's different. We now have a law in the US, for example, that if someone comes to your house and gets drunk and you let them drive, you're liable.
Exactly.
Most people would behave for that. Like, why am I going to let you get me in trouble? Please.
Exactly.
My house. So that is actually a bigger deterrent for the house.
That is what I'm saying. That focus on the people.
Somewhere else, he's never going to change. So these laws are great. The more people know that you can get into trouble for being complicit, for knowing about these things, I think
an accomplice.
Yeah, you won't even.
Okay, so what I was trying to say is that there are people that even know this law. Like I was trying to say, like there's men that know that they don't beat their wives, but they know people that beat their wives. They sit with this man, they drink with this man, they go out with this man.
Are you sure they know about this law?
They
They're
don't know.
comfortable.
They know.
So-
Nobody wants to get
They're
into trouble.
comfortable hanging out.
Nobody that will know this land be comfortable.
See, they're comfortable
I said,
hanging out with men that commit domestic violence.
Yeah, because they know
자기 필드 하면 거기 줄이지.
What's going on?
They would rather hang out with a man that commits domestic violence before they hang out with a male homosexual. They are more comfortable hanging out with men who beat their wives.
Sorry, if I can say something,
but it's not an African
I can say something. First things first, I will deal with something I'm hearing off of you. I'm hearing the emotional part of your stories, and that's fine. And I appreciate the emotional part of your stories where these men still hang out with their friends. But when they started this, I'm sure if you follow this, is how can we help? What we're focusing on is how can we help. So we're naming things that we can use to help. You can't stop the man from hanging out with those kind of friends. But however, what if I, as a woman, I arm you with the fact that I can tell Ron, that is my friend, that if I is beating me, and Ron, if you don't do anything about it, see, you know about this thing. I'm telling you, because if anything happens, you too, you're complicit in this thing. Trust me, I don't like police. I'll do something about it. Because you've told me. Now laws only
And the
work
more people know,
the more people know,
knowledge is power. The more people know.
If you take me to church counseling, and the pastor tells me that, hey, because she has told me, I might have to inform the police that this is happening. Trust me, I start to deter myself from even trying.
Imagine if pastors are preaching this in their churches.
It also works the other way.
Imams in their
If
mosques.
I now decide that I'll cut her off from all these people so that they wouldn't know what I'm doing. So she doesn't talk to pastor, doesn't talk to anybody else again. Remember that the law also protects the backside, that he doesn't have that right to cut you off. Because if he cuts you off, it's still part of the crime. But the more we know this thing, we have a critical mass. Sorry, let me just finish this. We have a critical mass for what you want, which is a change in culture. Remember that culture was built one step at a time. So the first thing changing culture is we talk about it. And you mentioned something. What if these men know the law and you report them? The first thing is let's report. Let's keep reporting. Forget that nothing is happening. Let's keep reporting. The more we report, the more we get to that critical mass that somebody says, you can't be reporting beating 10 times and I will not do something about it. But if we stop reporting because we say police usually will not do something about it, we will stay in that rut. So to have that cultural change that you require, is that we need to report. If we report, we educate, we report, and we see what comes after it. Trust me, the more people know, the more we report, the more we have that critical mass like these forums, the more things get better.
Yeah.
If I can do us a massive favor, if I can do us a massive favor, is it possible to post the link to these laws for us so that everybody can copy?
Ron, help me for Facebook. I think it's on.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. Whilst we're doing that. Good thing the law supersedes what I was going to say. However, what I was going to say is something about safeguarding. I think as Nigerians, when people tell you something, and say, "Oh, this is happening to me," or you notice something is happening, people just be like, "Oh, she told me in confidence." One thing is, if somebody is in danger, as long as safeguarding is concerned, you need to tell. Now, the higher part of it is the reporting stage, whereby you don't get in trouble. But even without you looking, maybe you're going to get in trouble or not. Because the definition of safeguarding is protection of children, adults, that could, anything that could harm them. So if you know that somebody is in grave danger, I've heard this story of this woman that happened. I've heard that was it Gates man, neighbors, everyone talking. While the law that if I just elaborate on would have been something that would discipline everybody, instead of just talking, everybody would just be caught. And by the end of the day, they know they're going to be caught. They can deny knowing anything about it. But when we know for a fact that it's our duty as a citizen, that when somebody tells you, even if they call you and say, please, so don't tell anybody, but you know they are in danger. then it is also okay. You have not done something bad by quickly dodging to somewhere to say that this person, go and call their family member. They are going to kill this your family member. This is what is happening. It's called safeguarding, and you're allowed to do it. It breaks confidence because it's all this. Don't let people know. My neighbor should not know. They should not know that I'm this, that this is happening to me. Tell. So that's what I was going to say. And I know this is difficult for Nigeria because we like to cover things, cover. Look at all the people that said they know. This one, no, that one, no, this one, no. Exactly. But if they are taking that safeguarding thing as, and it's just it doesn't stop in male, female, like we said earlier. It could even be to a child. So a child that is being looked after somewhere, and maybe the mom left, and somebody, maybe stepmother, is looking after, and then they are maltreating that child. Don't walk away. Don't look away. It's safeguarding. You have the right, and it's not neighbor. It's not that you're doing something bad. You are protecting the life of those people, either it's children, after it's male, and all of that. And I know sometimes when it comes to adults, when you try to report, they can even say nothing happened, or he doesn't do anything to me, but at least you have done your part. And none of these people have said, oh, when I knew this thing, I've gone to report, but she denied. Nobody has gone to report. Everybody's just talking now. So if everybody knows that confidence, when it comes to safeguarding, it throws off all the confidence. Don't tell people, because there's a danger involved. So that's what I just want to say.
I honestly agree with Ron on one thing that he always says, that people should have psychological evaluation before they're allowed to get married. Because honestly,
This is the fifth time Abby
agreed with you.
Superior reasoning. She has submitted herself to superior reasoning without killing herself.
You better go to enjoy the one she gave you before she takes it away.
The Jamajantis she's always believing in. I'm happy. Abby is growing. Abby is growing in.
You're growing.
Uprightness.
Okay, what's wrong with that now? What's wrong with the network? Abby, are you there?
So short than I joke.
I agree with what you said.
I think Abby is frozen.
Yeah, she'll come back. Don't worry. She'll be back. I'm
actually I wanted to say that I wasn't being emotional when I mentioned that instance. Ifeanyi said I was being emotional. It has nothing to do with being emotional.
He could hear the emotion.
I apologize. I said I could hear the emotion.
What I'm trying to say is that
can you hear me?
We need to change the cultural mindset of people.
Sorry, my tablet was like, no, I'm not having any of that fuckery, and just vexed and left. Because I walked into that one. But honestly,
I apologize, but I just said I heard your emotions. It's not. I didn't say you were emotional. I could hear your emotions.
We women don't like that, so you people should don't be coming and telling us.
But we just want to hear you people. Wow.
Thank you.
When we don't hear again too.
We will not take it.
Back to what I was saying about Ron. Honestly, because I've been going back on cases, because there's a new one that I think I sent to Ron. There's a new one I sent to Ron about a woman who lives in Ireland here with her 4 children, and she went back to Nigeria because her husband said he was selling the family house. So she now went back to Nigeria. And I actually said he had planned to kill her. That's why he said that, because he wanted to get rid of her. So she went back to Nigeria. Her younger brother went to pick her up, and they went home because it was victim statement before the brother died. So that's how we have the story. So the brother went to pick her, and it was a case of, you can't sell the house. How's that? I put my money inside this or this or so. And she actually was the one who got the visa that got all of them to go to Ireland. Maybe things weren't working out for the guy. The guy felt that he wasn't getting the kind of job he wanted. He left Ireland and came back to Nigeria. But she stayed, continued, and finished her master's program, got a good job, and her children are thriving and everything. Mr. Man now said he wanted to sell the house. So she came back to Nigeria. Her younger brother came to meet her, and it's the case of we can't sell the house, so the children are still going to come back home, all that stuff. Then they went to sleep on the assumption that she came with her own key. The man that lives in the house obviously has his own key, Abby. But he now came in the middle of the night, so maybe had gone to drink or something, and he tried to get into the house, and he couldn't get into the house, and he was banging on the door. So the brother now went and opened the door that, Egmont, don't be offended though. We thought you had your own key. He was like, you're disrespecting me, locking me out of my own house. I said, no. Honestly, because it's sister's key we use. So we thought you have your own key and all that. So it went back to sleep. That's how the guy doused both the brother and the woman in petrol and set them on fire. The woman unfortunately died immediately in the fire. The younger brother was brought out, but he was able to actually say what happened before he eventually passed. So we have cases like that. And that's why I agree with Ron. And I know I'm going to regret this. And that's why I agree with Ron that the average Nigerian needs a psychological. My computer is switch. So we need mental evaluation, because at least the average Nigerian is walking around with borderline personality. Because when you even see how people behave in traffic, how people behave at work, and that is why they say in Nigeria, it's a common saying, many are mad, few are roaming. It's like there's a kind of madness waiting to be activated at any point in time. And then you now carry mad plus man, put inside a house together. You're both living, and you're both trying to survive the environment, and you're trying to survive the environment. It's a problem. And I don't, that's why you see this thing of counseling. Counseling is something that people shouldn't feel is an Oyibo thing. We all need it. We all do.
But the other thing also with counseling is, did we always think counseling was an Oyibo thing? You realize it's always been around, right?
Yeah.
Even in our cultures, it's always been around.
I think what Ashake was trying to say, it's in a way, I was just thinking about it because she was talking about cultural mindset. See, we are mesmerized already. A lot of us, because we probably are exposed, we've gone out and all of that. I was living in Nigeria. For me, I'm a strange person. I was a strange person. It was now when I got to the UK that I started looking at myself like, I've been mad for a very long time. And I'm not joking. Because I won't go to a boyfriend's house and cook. I will even say if people want to go and cook for me. There's so many things I wouldn't do. But I'm looking at it as an average thing that, to me, that was madness.
Something about what Happy was talking about earlier, because I think it was quite important. And we
please, I beg, who's the best to say if men are being blamed and if I is sitting there like
no, it's supporting men now.
No, I think it's somebody that I'm going to serve you later, girl.
Anyway, I want to address what Happy was saying earlier.
Okay, go on.
About intervening when we see things going on. When I was married, when I was in my situation, I didn't leave him. Every time it happened, I waited up, and it always felt like the pros were worse than the cons, so I stayed. But the way I handled it was to make sure that everybody knew every time it happened. Anyone who cared to listen, I make sure they knew. To embarrass him, to humiliate him into not behaving that way. But I could do that because I have a very weird personality, you know.
And you were in the States also.
No. I mean, I'm still Nigerian.
But the Nigerian community wouldn't have supported you the way American community.
No, but it wasn't Americans I was telling, it was Nigerians. So,
but in the different.
Hold on, you people will understand where I'm going with this in a minute.
Okay.
I told our Nigerian friends that he was doing this because to shame him, and this is the thing. We have to think about I'm trying to think about what Happy is saying and what Ashake is saying as well. We have to think about our culture. Sometimes these things they're a double-edged sword. They're they're good, but they can also be the problem at the same time. if we don't try to understand it and get on top of it. So in African culture, we are very, very invested in what other people think of us. The respect of the community, the respect of others. It's a big deal in our culture. Half of the reasons our parents beat us is what will the neighbors say? What would they say about
exactly?
It is huge in our culture. And it's actually a good thing in as much as it makes us do our best. Because honestly, if we're left to our devices, this is what marriage is also about. If you leave a man by himself or a woman by himself, they're not gonna put themselves together as much as if they're with someone else. It's the same with if you know society is watching you, you're gonna try harder. So our parents try to make us cognizant of what others are thinking about us and our role in what others are thinking about them. And I think that has its good side, but I think it also has its bad side, which is we now become desperate for no one to ever know about the bad things going on with us, right? Which is why I think what is really important.
Your neighbors beat you, like in my case.
No, that's
my
different.
neighbors will beat me.
The little children is different, but you know nobody can hide the truth like Black people and Africans.
But what I'm saying is they will beat me from the top of the street right down to our house. My mom will like, she go, thank you. They drag me inside and they beat me again.
I get it. But you're a child. That one we can deal with. If you have a gay son now, they'll make sure nobody knows. If the father is an alcoholic, they'll be hiding it. If the uncle is a child abuser, they'll be hiding it. Beating children.
Everybody's family is the same.
Things we consider not socially acceptable, we would die hiding that shit. It is not in our culture to put our dirty laundry in the street.
Exactly.
What Happy was saying and what Ashake is saying crucial, because the default, the
mindset
of our people is to hide ugly things from society. So it's very hard to know who needs help without, being nosy. It has to be okay to be a little bit nosy at the moment.
Exactly. To tell off.
Exactly.
I doff my heart to you, Bumi, for saying that culture is double-edged. The thing about culture, which is part of the things we can address when you address imperialism, is that part of our cultures were taken away and tainted. I'll give you a very simple one. There's this saying that Igbo men have to pay a whole lot of money in order to get married. Do you even have an idea why? It wasn't the paying a whole lot of money. It was the thing behind it. You had to show me that you can take care of this woman for me to give you my daughter. That's the reason for it. It's not what we have adulterated to the point where there was a list that was given to me that had Indian hair, long Indian hair, and the rest of them. Don't worry, that's a different story. I've had my own fair share of story down this week. But there was the reason why you were told that. There were all the small things that were in culture. For instance, there's in culture you are supposed to have walked. They tell you must have farmed for the father, farmed for the mother, and do certain things. In fact, I'll give you one that will sweet your heart. There's something in my own language itself that says that if I wanted to chide you, I will come when the embers from the fire I used to cook in the evening is dying. I'll come to the mother's room to help her and just blow out the fire. Wow. The mother will see me come there, and as I'm blowing out the fire, she will know I came for a girl. She will not tell me anything. No, she'll tell me, my son, you have come, you've helped me well. Then when I'm about leaving, she will send the girl and say, okay, just give him small leg. Escort him small. Right. It enhances it. That way I've come through. They tell you that you always come through the kitchen before they will now invite you in through the front. That's culture. So in culture, there were things, you realize that there were things that men, there was a time when in Igbo land that if you beat your wife, you're considered a weak man because you should be fighting war. Why are you beating women?
Wow.
Culture was protecting that.
No, I told them about this. I told them about things fall apart.
Yeah,
can you remember things fall apart?
I remember things fall apart. But we've eroded that. Because we've eroded that.
How do we go back to these things? Because I love culture.
I will quote the scripture. I know most of you are Bible. Do not move the ancient landmarks. There are certain things we need to find to understand. That's why I said if we create the community, men will know how to behave. Because in the community, it becomes a taboo for you to do that kind of thing. If out of 5 of my friends, I say I beat my wife, and 5 of them be like, we can't even associate with you anymore, what do you think will happen?
They will stop, yes.
Because and it doesn't matter what generation it is. We lost that culture. It is
And,
not
and,
here.
and
We
that's
can
what
start
Shake was
it again.
saying.
We can start it again.
Yeah.
So my point was, the
Kyle,
thing
they
that
keep
we
quiet.
herald our culture means that we can move this culture forward. It's fine if we're not all of the same age, but we can start it from now to know that, okay, go. Don't worry, Kyle is talking about culture of domestic polygamy.
He's talking about the thing that is preparing his soul.
No, but if he's talking about that one, I can also tell him the other part, that he has to realize that this same culture that supports polygamy also supported the women, having all those Agbenu people that come to help them with farm. They help in other things. So
Polyamorous. All of us
just
don't doing
so
everything
we
together.
know, because that's what it is. Because in as much as that's why the chief had 25 wives, but he had more slaves that can help him with the farming. When they help with farming, they help bring the thing back.
And now
The
they
woman
farm
had
the
other-
farm too now.
Yes.
And they're
They
farming
also
the farm.
bring children. They
Yes.
also bring in children for him.
And now
Children.
I agree with you guys, but the culture needs to change. But how does it change? It starts from one person. You change one person, you change.
education.
So if I have 2 sons and out of 2 of them, none of them
I wish
beats their
Enuka
wife, but
was
they know
here
how to
because she's a
respect.
big
It goes
proponent
further.
of
It
culture,
goes
you
further.
know.
It goes
I
further.
wish she was
But if
here
we don't
because
start it,
she's
if we
really
don't
into
start it, we
Igbo
don't do anything.
culture.
She's watching.
You know what? You know this thing that you said, it is so pivotal to how we can actually find our way back. Because as you've said, when you hear a lot of people say, you want to marry an Igbo girl, do you know? But then you also hear of men who will be beating their wives or degrading their wives, because again, violence is not just by physical, it's by psychological, verbal, everything. Say, I paid for you. Like, dude, who do you think you are to think you can pay for me? How much is it that you paid that you think was what my worth? My parents took chicken change from you and you think that you paid for me. So we have to find a way back where I read about this, and now because I'm Dahomean, so I actually claim that more than Nigerian, even though Dahome doesn't exist anymore. But because I've got ties to Togo and ties to Nigeria, I'm from Badagry. You know, and the thing is, I read about these women who used to go around the community. If ever they heard about a man beating his wife, they will go and waylay him on the way to the farm and start going, woo! See you, like serious shame. And they will waylay him to the farm, waylay him to the community meeting. Everywhere he's going, they'll be following up and down. So by the time he has done one day, in fact, you just you just give up, because you know, and it was a way of communally shaming someone who was doing something wrong. But then again, in that same community, the men would then come together and hold him and say, okay, this is what you did. You have upset the women. You have to pay something towards the women and pay something towards the victim, your wife, and then they will now bless you. The women will now bless you. But and in a way, it was the way of we have spanked you, but now we are forgiving you. Don't repeat that.
But in Igbo culture, that's why I was using. I always use things fall apart as a reason. Okonkwo beat his wife, right? He beat his wife up. This is a hero, a societal hero, like a national hero. He got carried away. The wife offended him, and he beat her. Do you know all the bad things that happened to Okonkwo started from just that one act? That he beat his wife. He got punished. He had to appease the god. He killed the only the boy foster son. The spirits, you know, all the misfortune that befell him just because of that one act. It goes to tell you that culture also protects. You know, I say it many times. People don't believe me. We've been brainwashed to think that it was such a barbaric area that there was no rules, no regulation. Everybody was just like a barbarian. You just wake up, do whatever you like, and go and say, no, there was structure and order.
I don't know who. Have you guys ever? Do you remember the book, The Wife's Revolt by J.P. Clark?
I have come across the book.
Okay.
I have come across.
It just had to do with a community that was paid out oil money, and they refused to share the money. They said they would share it for the men. and the women went on strike. The women refused to cook, things were dirty, men had to take care of children. At the end of the whole day, they ended up sharing the money between the elders, the men, and the women. But
African women
that's
were
just
never
the
Sorry.
as the European.
yes.
Sorry,
But
I have
the
When we
interesting
are not
thing about
copying
it,
them, I'll never understand.
yeah.
guys,
But the
guys,
interesting
I have to
thing
quickly
about
check
it,
out. I have a quick emergency.
no
So,
problem. But
Okay,
the
be safe.
Sorry.
okay,
Be safe, okay?
bye.
Okay.
but
Bye.
but the
Okay.
but the
Come back.
interesting
Hope
thing
everything's
about it
okay.
with
No, it's not terrible emergency, just something
Okay,
emergency.
just
okay,
something.
Okay.
okay, okay, okay.
But the
All right,
interesting thing
bye.
about it is the